Yeah, it's hooked up back there. So once you guys pick on the speaker, that thing's loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the actual knob that's inside.
Meeting come to order.
I didn't know that.
Corrections
99%.
on the minutes.
On the April 8th utility board minutes, we had John Carson here at the last meeting. He's one of the signatures on the service utility agreement for the Dayton United Methodist Church. And he spoke for about 2 minutes concerning his knowledge on the service utility agreement. I would like for that to be incorporated into the board minutes. His part starts about the 48-minute mark and runs through the 50-minute mark for the utility board.
Any other corrections?
I make a motion to approve the minutes with the changes added for utility board meeting March 11, 2019, and utility board meeting April 8, 2019.
A motion second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Approve the claims docket for the regular meeting.
Second.
A motion is second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Adjustment report.
So this one's a short one. Michael, he actually has a flat rate bill because he's one of the well water people, and for some reason his bill was not generating after December, so he contacted us about it. We got that handled, so that's what that is. And then Don and Jacqueline, those are the two the same, so it was just a transferred bill from landlord to tenant. So those are just what those adjustments are.
Make a motion we approve the claims docket, May 13th, 2019.
Second.
I'm sorry, adjustment report.
Second.
There's a motion is second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Clerk treasurer report.
For the utility side, it's pretty short. Next month, June's monthly meeting, I will actually be out of state. So I actually have Tammy sitting in with me tonight, just to learn how we handle the meeting. So the board can either choose to have June's meeting the normal day, or if you guys want to do it the Friday before, then I can be present. I just wanted to give the board that option, knowing that I wouldn't be here. So whatever you guys want to choose to do is fine with me.
Everybody, have a hearing on everything?
She just will have to start the recorder.
Yeah, and I normally go back and watch the video to do the detailed, so I'll just make sure I don't put anything on my report that's detailed. Okay? And then the other thing is, Retha was supposed to be here tonight, but because we had some what we think might be lengthy process things tonight, we went ahead and scheduled with her. She's actually going to be here June 3rd. It's on a Monday at 6 p.m. We're going to have a work session meeting. I believe those have to be open door, right? A work session? Okay, so it would be an open door meeting Monday, June 3rd at 6 p.m. with Retha, going over her findings about a utility cash reserve fund and like that budget 101 that we had talked about. So other than that, that's all I have for the utility side.
Do we have a time on that?
6 p.m. She lives, over 2 hours away, so I didn't wanna make it at 7, so she wasn't traveling so late.
Reed, you have anything for this meeting?
Nothing to report from this meeting.
Not right now.
Right.
Moving on business. Dave Crandall, Dayton United Methodist Church.
Hello, thank everyone for their time. We're back to see if we're able to answer any questions and try to move forward. Does anyone have anything for me?
I see whatever documentation you brought from last time, the statue, other stuff that was discussed, buildings, whatever with the thing that shows it's 12-inch pipe.
The utility service agreement
Yeah.
signed?
Yeah. Do you have a copy of that?
Yeah. So the utility service agreement that I think Ashley was talking about earlier, that John was a signer on page 2. There's been some questions on whether the 12-inch line installed or not, but it says manhole 1, and it says 12-inch line. Manhole 2, it says 12-inch line. That's signed by the town board and the church. Also been some questions whether it was installed or not. We've got the estimate summary here, 2012 sanitary extension with the contract and a copy of the check stating it was paid for $45,000.
Can I see a copy of that?
Sure.
That's not detailed. Do you have a detailed summary of what you think the F and K
Yeah, sure.
contractors?
No problem. Here's a contract. Looks like on page 7, it says Dayton Sanitary Sewer Extension on Dayton Road. I'll need this original back to this. Paper I gave Tyrone, says what size is on there as well. That's the utility service agreement.
Well, I mean, yeah, this contract really doesn't go into details as far as the work that was done and stuff.
But the payment amount of $45,000 coincides with the summary sheet they provided us.
So what was the price of just doing the regular sewer line?
$24,311. And the oversizing was $44,822, hence the town share of $20,511. The actual bill that we were billed was $62,177.09, but our contract said not to exceed $45,000, so we paid $45,000 and they agreed.
It's my understanding that the town paid the portion for the upsizing of that line.
Well,
I've had two different people that were associated with the board and also a person with the.
Well, I'd like to
person.
show you that understanding is also incorrect. Here's a letter from the Dayton United Methodist Church thanking the town council for the time and energy spent exploring and verbally clarifying the utility service agreement. We are pleased to be making progress in resolving this issue. on December 12th, as a demonstration of good faith, the church is submitting a check for $28,510 for water, sewer, and storm, water cost recovery fees. That was sent from your gentleman you referred to earlier, John Carson. I think he's supposed to speak on the podium to be in the minutes, is that right? But that's probably not really necessary. Then,
What was the date of that?
December 12th of 01. Then LaDonna Snyder signed on 4/26 of 02, stating that all fees have been paid, including the cost of recovery, detailed construction plans, detailed construction plan fee, detailed construction plan approval by town council, all engineer fees, tap-on permits, fees, preliminary plans by town council, annexation, completed waiver and paid, and several others.
Are we talking about both the stormwater recovery fee and oversizing right now, just to clarify?
I'll try to answer the questions that have come in. We started out with 12-inch, the oversizing for sanitary, and then Ashley was asking, the way I understood, about stormwater fees, correct?
Upsizing fee.
Upsizing fee?
The upsizing fee, just to clarify, is for the sewer.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
So it's not really a fee, it's our, it wasn't a fee to the town, it was an expense to the church. So I don't think the fee is probably the right word, correct?
That may not be correct, yes.
So there is no fee, to my knowledge, for upsizing. There's just a contractor invoice that we paid for the $45,000. And with a contract, and then, I know you were questioning whether it was actually done, but the ordinance, the utility service agreement on page 2 states it's a 12-inch. And it's got your name on it, we didn't sign it. The rest of the town board members did, and everyone else that was involved at that time, agreeing that 12 inches was completed per the town.
Can I see the two things you just read?
Sure. I think I need all these back, for these are originals that I had.
The town has the option to ask for oversizing of the pipes, and then the town pays for the oversizing of those pipes.
Correct, yep. A little backstory, I know we were talking about Mike Smith a lot, but digging for minutes from 1990, 91, all the way to currently, I don't know if all of you even know this, but in 90, the church asked for a sewer. The town had insufficient funds, so couldn't do the sewer. In 91, the church received permission to install the sewer along Wesleyan Drive at our expense. We took care of that. So that was completed in 91. In 93, the church provided an easement for the sewer because there was some controversy, and I've got this in all the minutes and so forth, whether that was private or whether that was public. We agreed to make it public, and in turn, we went back and paid arrears fees for 92 and all of 91 to make it up to date in 93. So that's happened. And 3 different times, Mr. Smith has been quoted stating on the minutes from pages 179, 186, 196, 197, 198, 207, and 289 that the church's fees were all paid in full. Or not fees, excuse me, the church's obligations to the town were paid, and anything future should be at the town's expense. So, digging even deeper, we found out that a lot of the church leadership didn't believe that there was no reason, and with this, that the sewer should ever be moved. We already met our obligation by having the private sewer that became public, and we didn't need a sewer along Dayton Road. So with that in mind, we spent another 54, almost 55,000 that really wasn't needed by these records as well, just to give you a little more backstory.
Needed or not, you know, the leadership of the town and leadership of the church at that time evidently come to some type of agreement to do that.
The sewage was on our property, and the church had a 100-year agreement for that sewage. And a couple members on the board wanted that moved out on Dayton Road. There's a lot of animosity back then, and there's a lot of people saying reasons why it was. But anyway, they were forced to move it at their expense, so they really paid for the first one, and you paid for the second one. And then we gave the right of the easements along Dayton Road for you to put, for a town, or to put that in. So you guys have really paid for it twice, and then you upsize on top of it.
If we had a $3 million project, now it wouldn't be stopped, I guess, halted for, $54,000, $55,000.
And in the first place, the town technically probably should have provided you guys with sewage to begin with.
Yeah, that's
Provided
right.
everybody else with sewage, so.
I'd say that.
It seems to me that, we're trying to rewrite history here, which, somewhat bothers me. Again, going back to this current service utility agreement, I mean, gee whiz, we had 6 drafts before the 7th and final draft. And looking at the paper trail, that happened over a number of years. And, I was on the board at that time, Mike Harris was on the board. I've talked to other former board members and clerk treasurer and church members and stuff, and I hear your side, obviously what the church is asking now, and listening to these other parties. I feel like maybe some type of a mediation process may be in order here to kind of expedite this. I don't know how the other board members feel about entering into mediation with the church on this to resolve it.
I guess I'm not understanding what you're questioning, before your big question was the 12-inch really done? And the agreement that we were named on is on, it says the 12-inch was done. And you're asking if we actually paid for it. We did pay for it.
Now, I understand that you believe you paid for it, okay?
I don't believe I showed you the evidence.
I'm hearing other stories as far as, well, that's a contract, I don't see breakdowns of the job. I haven't seen, and maybe, where copies being made, the difference in between, the 12-inch and the other smaller size. This town needs to research our records and see if we have checks that, we paid for our records back then to do that kind of work, as I believe we'll find.
Were you able to find the Indiana state statute that we talked about?
No, I'd asked you to, 4 times to present that to me. I have not received
Okay,
it.
I already gave it to you once, but I'll be more happy to give it to you again if you'd like a copy here.
Please do, yes.
And our meeting that we had, you were provided, we'd like to make a copy of this too, please.
Yep.
In there it states, we must request officially our money back, essentially, paraphrasing. And we've done that on February 23rd. And you have 30 days, which have already expired, to accept the refund.
You use the term request, you asked us to consider some things back in the November, December time period.
But it wasn't official. So by Indiana state statute, the way we were explained, it had to be sent certified mail, which we did on February 23rd, and everyone received, everyone signed. I confirmed with Michelle, make sure that everyone did receive their copy. And state statute says you have 30 days to apply. That has not happened.
Does that apply, Reed?
I haven't seen it yet. I know the 36741332 does not apply. That's on impact fee refunds. But, we concluded the last meeting, it was my understanding that the church had presented all of the evidence, and, happy to allow the church to provide additional evidence today, but I'd just like to remind Dave that the town council members don't have an opportunity to meet in a situation like this
Thank you.
outside of a public meeting, and so they haven't had ability for all 5 of them to have any type of discussion on this, and so we really need to get to a point where the church has presented all of their information, and then the town council can consider that. So I think the documents are certainly helpful, provide additional information today. But like I said last time, this is not a courtroom where, we're just going to engage in back and forth. So we really need to, hear everything that you have to say, and then, I'll leave it to the town council to have some kind of a discussion, because they really just don't have an opportunity to. I also did look into the possibility and advised the town council regarding mediation, because, you know, our reason that we can't meet is the public access laws, and if there is an agreement between the two parties to do mediation, then that would allow the town council members to participate in that mediation, and they could all engage in deliberations and settlement negotiations outside of a public meeting. So that's just an option. I think, you know, we're here today to see if we can get this decided, but if not, then, you know, mediation is an option for the town council to consider.
One thing is, at the last meeting, this is the third month now, the last meeting, I think, Mike, you said, we'll have, you made a motion to extend it to this meeting to make a decision. And I don't see everybody, some of these questions Ashley, that you asked, some of this material you should have asked in this last month to have the information so you could make a decision here. But I think it's our job to ask these guys, get the information in the month between, then it comes up here, and we make a decision on it. We told them 2 months now, we'd make a decision. We're gonna now extend it another month?
We're talking about a large sum of money here.
We were talking about it 2 months ago and 3 months ago.
Precedents that would, you know, this would be a set of precedents for, you know, other.
Yeah, and that's why we talked about it 3 months ago, 2 months ago, and everybody's upset last month because we didn't make a decision. So now we extended it 1 more month, and the vote was 2-2 not to extend it. So therefore, we probably shouldn't have extended it, but we did. So we should have all the information to make our decision. We should, and they presented us a lot of
Go
information.
over all this right now. Last night, sitting there waiting to make a decision, that's why we,
Well, when do you want to do it?
well, that's why I say we do the mediation, where we can all discuss it.
So we can all sit in front of
And we
people and
just got
discuss
to
it
that.
then?
Yes.
Yeah, and we just got more information today that we're supposed to. So if the church wouldn't mind doing that, have a mediator, it wouldn't be a public, where we could actually get together and discuss it.
Why do we not want the public there particularly? Is there a reason for that? Because a lot of the public have like to comment probably on it.
There are people that do not like to speak in public that can offer more information on this. And, you know, again, you know, we just got handed, you know, more information, and, you know, you want to make a decision within 3 minutes. And, you know, I don't think that's right for the taxpayers.
Most of that's not new information, we've given that from the day one back in November, and we cited all this stuff, you just didn't have the copies. You did have the copy of the service agreement that says the 12 inches line, both those were installed from manhole to manhole and so forth. I was just answering any questions you guys had last time, trying to show you.
You're just proving what we
I was
asked
just trying to
last
help.
time. So
Trying to get to a conclusion.
now it's proved, you know. Spending that money, we spent $46,000 north on the stormwater in less than 2 minutes at the end of one meeting. So that's $42,000.
I know there was a question whether the impact, the future fees could be applied, and I think that in the last meeting, Tyrone agreed if it needed to be payment versus fees, then that was fine, and that we were okay with that. I think I mentioned that, that was, I want to make sure that's on record, that we're okay with not future fees or future credits, so then it's clean, and if there's a higher density development or whatever would happen, then maybe at a different rate, therefore the town would be missing out on any other fees going forward.
Is there a good reason why we would not, and the church would not go into a mediation process to help us through this?
That's going to cost us a lot more money.
Yeah, so the mediator is an attorney who would be someone that the parties would have to agree upon, and so we would have to either as a town pay for the entire cost of mediation, or the parties could agree to split the cost of mediation. So it's typical for the parties to split the cost. I thought in this situation that it might be, might make sense for the town to agree to pay for the entire cost of the mediation, just because of, you know, the length of the process that's already gone on, and I think, you know, it kind of fixes our problem, and, you know, the main difference between the two is, typically you don't have to talk about settlement negotiations in front of the other party that you're trying to reach a resolution. So if there's anything that's, you know, not agreed to in full, that you want to propose as a solution, typically, you know, litigation or anticipated litigation is something that, you know, parties are allowed to do that in private, and that's, you know, the main reason that you do it in not a public meeting. I mean, I think, you know, everything else has been discussed, and there's really nothing that would only be discussed because it's in private, other than trying to reach a resolution.
But it would allow us five to talk openly amongst ourselves
Right,
to
and
resolve
the
this.
main reason that you have a mediator is that that mediator is allowed to meet individually with both parties and talk about the weaknesses and the strengths of their case. So that attorney would not be representing either party. And the main reason that I thought it would be beneficial in this case is because the church is unrepresented. And there are some, you know, complex and, you know, just technical issues of both law and on the engineering side as well, that a mediator might be able to help both parties understand better. But there is going to be additional cost. If we can reach a resolution now, that would be best. You know, that's what we've been working towards the last 2 meetings, and that's what we're here for now. But it's complex.
We have to agree to mediation, correct?
Yes.
And can you tell me a benefit of why we want to do that? We feel like we're more than adequately represented currently. And we feel like you guys have gone against what you've asked, because you asked us to come here, and we've, for no less than 50 times, said we did not want to come here. We did not want to have this conversation. We wanted to provide all documents, let you ask any questions, and we continue to do that. But you guys insisted us come here, and we've been here time and time again. Now we've done what you've asked, now you're asking us to do something else. I'm getting more and more frustrated, and I want to jump through more hoops. So I personally am not interested in mediation, so we might as well take that off the table and move on to the next topic.
And I think that mediation can cost thousands of dollars, and still we come up with something we don't offer them, and they take us to court anyway, so why not just say what we want to do? Each of you go down the line and say what you'd like to do, and we vote on it. Then they've got a choice to either say yes or go to court. We got the information we need, unless somebody thinks that church is lying. We have the information we need to make a decision.
I don't understand all of the information on the oversizing, because I just got those numbers today, but what I'm not sure is if those estimates included just the amount of the cost for the pipe as a difference, or if were there other elements that would have been installation or the labor for the pipe. And you know, that's why I do think that the sewer oversizing credit issue is kind of has had unanswered questions for me before we came in today. I do think we got some additional information, but
Well, we could decide, yes, we want to give them back the credit for the oversizing, and then work out the agreement, work out the technical thing, how much it actually costs, that Dave can't provide it right now, but we could make that decision whether to do it.
This is both labor and materials agreed to answer your questions both, because it's not just additional pipe, it had to go further down in depth. So there was additional labor included in this as well.
so I think we're only on the hook for the cost of the pipe, because it's the church's responsibility to install, but
No, so there's a smaller labor cost, that's why it's broke down on this sheet here. There's, to install an 8-inch would be, to install the 12-inch is the 44,000 number. To install the 12-inch is the 24,000 number.
The 8 inch is 24.
Correct, without oversizing, excuse me, I misspoke, it's 24, with oversizing is 44. Round numbers.
what's that?
$20,511, correct.
Oversized.
You know, I'm not an engineer, you know, so I just get this information and I have to.
Okay, this is a quote that was presented from us to Mike, by Mike Smith, and also we received it. That's the one that we quoted here, and the actual cost was more.
Mike's not here, but I talked to Mike, I worked with Mike on Michelle Watts with Butler Term and Seifert. I've talked to Mike numerous times about this project, and he couldn't be here tonight, but, my understanding is, yes, back in the day, the church agreed to oversize the pipe, and it's gonna cost them more, $25,000. And, from what Mike said was, during the 7 iterations or 6 or whatever, that the other side of it was the church was supposed to build it. Ordinance says the church has to build it to their south property line.
No, it doesn't.
Through negotiations with the church and the town and the board members, that was gonna be a hardship on the church to build it to the south property line, talking more than the $25,000. This is just what Mike has told me. So during the negotiations, the town said, well, the town and the church said, what if we don't build to the south property line, but we go ahead and upsize it, saving the church money at the time, but the town knew in the future that someone was gonna have to come get it through the church's property, and that was gonna be a cost on someone else, either the town or the next developer or whatever. Everybody has to go get their utility, wherever it is. If I want to build on this lot and it's half a mile down the road and it's not there yet, it's not necessarily the town's responsibility to build it to me. I would have to go get it. The town helps facilitate easements, right away, other things to help you do that.
Isn't that what they did?
So that's what they did. So the church went and got it.
Twice.
The town
Twice.
made them upsize it.
With all due respect, can we hear this from Mike, because I've got other documents from the last time Mike was here that proves it was 100% wrong on easements and everything, signed by Mike, signed by Donna, signed by, I know Mike represents a lot of people and I have high respect for him, but I think his memory is not correct on this, because his signature's on other documents stating elsewhere.
John Carson, who also signed that service utility agreement on the behalf of the Dayton United Methodist Church, when he spoke last month at the 48-minute mark, he basically said exactly what Michelle just confirmed.
But there's no documentation that says that, and everyone else besides those two people recollect it differently. And
John Swick on the town board member, I was on the town board, Mike Harris is on the town board, John Swick also a town board member, as, you know,
John Swick, I've talked to John multiple times, that's not what he told me.
I've talked to him
That's the
also.
way, that's the way I remember it as well. You upsized, then we wouldn't have you take it all the way to the south property line. So
Again,
basically, we give you a deal, because I don't know what an 8-inch would cost another 1,000 feet.
So that obligation to extend to the south line never went away for the church and still is there. Yeah, I mean, you know, the ordinance
It
that.
says the end of the property line, correct?
What's that?
It says the end of the property line, I've not seen it where it says south line, and there's multiple properties owned by the church, some inside town limits, some
It's
outside town
inside
limits.
the town.
No, there's
It's always
a-
said to the south town limit. You were annexing at the time, the agreements were all based on.
it's to the end of the property.
No, it wasn't. It was to the end of the,
That was for an easement. That was for an
We
easement
couldn't make them
only.
do something outside in the county, just like you guys can't make Cindy and I go down the road out in the county.
That's
You-
to the end of their
Property.
basically blacktop property.
And that's inside the town, that's not the county part.
The service utility agreements, when you extend to in the properties, it doesn't matter.
You just said to the end of the blacktop, actually, that's the in-town property.
So I can show you another dialogue.
You know, like, again, this is where I feel me to help us instead of.
Well,
I've
yeah.
already declined on that, but thanks for the offer again. On February 4th, the utility service agreement was signed in '02. On March 7th, Mike sent an updated explanation of easements, which also is similar to what you're talking about. On March 11th of of 2002, it was reported that a 15-foot easement, not the a la carte 15-foot, 30 easement or whatever you need all the way down. It's only in town limits. And there's a copy here that states from Mike, from LaDonna, sent from this fax machine in here, from John. John asked for the easement to go all the way down, and Mike declined that, and so that was not the way it's supposed to read.
The easement is for the pipe in the ground.
Or future easements that you've referred to multiple times. So what I'm telling you is what you're saying is incorrect. What the interpretation that we keep regurgitating the same story over and over again is incorrect. We've got it recorded, we've got signed documents from everyone involved, all parties.
I'd have to see those. On these previous draft copies,
It's recorded at the county office.
okay, you know, it refers to, you know, manhole 4, which manhole 4 is way down at the south property line, but it, you know, never got built. You know, the language in here, you know, it talks about the south end of the owner developer's described property, you know.
I'm only talking about signed, execute out contracts. The first 6 mean nothing to
The
me.
manhole 4 is the
First 6
south edge of the
years.
Well,
property,
to-
it's the south edge of the town property, in-town
You know,
property.
to add to Michelle's point, you know, that was part of the stuff that was negotiated out in between the church and the two.
Can you provide that to me?
I can provide these to you, yes. These are the prior draft copies.
Is that signed? Prior draft copy?
Well, they're drafts, so no, they haven't been signed.
Okay, so is there relevancy on that?
Yes, the relevancy is, the draft copies all show, you know, the line going to the end of the property and, you know, the 12-inch line.
Does it show that it goes to the end of the property, Ashley? Which property? They've got 2 properties. It's
All
the
right,
first
if you have
property
any
that's in town.
additional documents or evidence to submit.
You told me this was a courtroom and I didn't need to bring anything else, and you're not my attorney. I've asked, what do you need? I'll get everything I can, but, no, right now I do not. If you like to see something else, we won't have to tell you. Bob, you got something?
Do not give it down there, but this is what it says, Hawkins Environmental, December 3rd, 2001. Notation in the side here, it says credit all oversize and over depth. At the bottom, notation, credit issued when installation is accomplished. Hawkins Environmental.
Yeah, I have
Mike
that.
Smith.
That is the draft that wasn't signed. That's draft 6. That evidence is, that's against your
Right.
case. That hurts your case by pointing that out. So, we need to get to a point where the church will sit down and let this go to the decision-making body, and the town council can consider the evidence.
There's been about 90 days since this all started in your mind. There's been 90
So when
days.
when
So
go to
you can
court,
meet 2 at a time. You don't have to meet 5 at a time. It happens regularly. I met with you,
No.
Mr. Tyrone.
We've been through that before, meeting 2 at a time, and this board has been advised against, you know, some type of a serial meeting.
Okay, so you haven't had any private meetings yourself? One at a time?
This board's been advised against having some type of a serial meeting.
Last 14 days, you haven't had any meetings? Last 30 days, I guess, excuse me. Less than 30 days, you haven't had any private
We're
meetings?
not on trial here. I mean, you're allowed to,
Okay, well, I don't
observe-
contradict what you're saying. I'm here
you're
trying
allowed to
trying
observe the
okay.
decision-making process, but, you know, all that, I mean, you're trying to convince us.
I'm not trying to convince you anything. I know the truth. If you like to do something, then you can do it. I'm not threatening litigation like you want me to do. Because then it's private, and you don't want everyone else to see what's going on. And I firmly believe that's not the correct way to do it. I've tried to be completely open the entire time. I've done nothing but what you wanted to do. And I had 15 people contact me and talk about how disrespectful you were last week, or last month to me. Maybe people feel that way. If they do, I'm sorry, I'm just really frustrated. So I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just getting really tired of being here and hearing the same old song and dance with no documentation to provide any evidence. So we feel, and we have the evidence to show, that it's well over $72,000 that's owed to the church that they paid that they shouldn't have paid. We are not asking for more and more and more. That's not what we're doing. We've tried to only ask for 23, but ask for credits. And you told me that wasn't acceptable. So we've tried to go back and do what you want. We answered every point that you had, brought evidence to show you that we already provided in November. I don't know what else I can do.
All right, thank you for your time.
Tammy, you and Tyrone, do you guys think there's enough evidence here to make a decision, or what do you? And do the people get to be involved in this too? I think
Yeah,
it's-
absolutely, that's what I'm trying to move it on like a normal agenda item. We can have any discussion from the board, we can have public comment.
Michelle, do you still have stuff to say? You were gonna say some stuff.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, the last thing Mike said was, typically on a utility service agreement, the credit is on there. So it had gotten taken off, like it would say oversizing credit equals, and then it'd be subtracted out on the utility service agreement prior to the signing of it. That line got removed along with the extending it to the south property line at the time, like whatever they're only
So
at the
from
time.
the
Yeah.
in-town property
Yeah.
line, yes.
But, when that credit got removed, that was part of the negotiations. So, in his mind, the exchange happened, that's the signed agreement, that's what the board agreed to, and that's what the church agreed to, was what is in that signed utility service agreement. Not all the iterations, we all know what the iterations were, that there were multiple manual for and upsizing credits, and they negotiated all that out back in the day. And the signed agreement is, the church pays what the signed agreement says, and there were no credits. So that's
Yeah.
all.
And
And
that's
where
what,
we were before, which was, you know, a discussion that was a lot more helpful for the church, was that really the agreement was just to delay those credits. You know, they got the benefit that they didn't have to extend and put out all that money.
right,
They did go ahead and pay for the credits, but they weren't reimbursed at the time, so it was essentially a delay. Is the way, because there was no legal language to release the town from its liability, that if, you know, in 150-046, if you have to oversize, then the town has to credit, there's no release language in there. And the same ordinance that applies to the church that says you have to extend lines, that's not released. So, you know, the law applies, and so, you know, that's where we are right now. I think that that's the best argument for the church, is that they still have the obligation to do those credits. They did pay for those, and they never got the credits, and that's where we're at. I'm not sure, because we haven't had a chance to get into it, on the amount of the credits, you know, whether that number is what the engineers feel is appropriate or not, but.
What about the detention pond with the wastewater? I mean, it was built and we didn't supply that.
Right, so.
That section of it, 'cause I know there's a part series of this.
Yeah, so, I think, just to remind everyone, so we have a letter from the church, February 22, 19. So there's a stormwater recovery fee of $23,230. And then there is the, number 2, sewer request for $25,11, and then also there's number 3, which was all for interest. So really, you know, there's stormwater, that's that issue, there's a sewer, and then there's interest. And, you know, in the letter we had, according to Indiana state statutes, municipalities have 2 years to provide service or return fees. The statute that I was pointed to, I don't believe applies. I haven't seen a statute that does apply, and that will expose the town to liability for interest. But I didn't see whatever.
Here's this one.
Yeah, that's the one that does not apply. We just don't.
so that does not apply to us. and the-
That's the one that I mean, that's my opinion. I've written, you know, a memo to explain to you why I don't think that applies.
We all got this.
The church has its argument, you know, that it does, but also, you know, when you look at that statute, there would be a obligations of the church that they probably have not met from a time standpoint. And also, there's a procedural part of that statute that we don't have in place. Like you wouldn't be going to the town council to file an appeal of the impact recovery fee. You'd be going to the administrative body that's established by that ordinance. And really the fact that there was a utility service agreement evidences that we don't have an actual impact fee ordinance because we had to spell it out in the contract and not through the ordinance. It doesn't really change anything on that issue or in regards to what happened with the stormwater. It really just has to go to the fact of whether there's interest owed.
Reed, regarding your timestamp that you're talking about, we were advised on that timestamp
Because we don't have it.
that we couldn't ask for the interest to be paid because we didn't have the final amount until December of last year when the loan was paid.
What's that? I didn't hear your question.
That was just a comment, you mentioning that some of those things you didn't feel like we've done in time, if that was to apply. And we haven't been advised that we did because you couldn't get the interest total until the note was paid, which was just December of last year.
Yeah, like, the first word of that statute is a fee payer. You have to look to the definition of a fee payer. It doesn't apply, so it just doesn't apply, in my opinion.
May I say something?
We're not to the
Yeah.
public comment. Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, so I guess anything else on stormwater for the town council, and we can open it up to comments.
So stormwater, in your opinion, with all the stuff they've provided, is something out there, what is your opinion on the payment? Or
It's just your decision, yeah. I mean, really not much has changed on the evidence in my opinion from the memo that I sent you on that, March 4th of 19. But you're really the decision-making body. I can't make a decision that really goes to, what we're looking at in front of us is, mediation, but that looks like it might not happen, or,
Here's a list of all the people that have paid into that stormwater fee, so it's not just the church. I mean, and actually, Ron and Cindy have actually paid into that stormwater fee.
Yeah, we're not asking for the money.
As far as Ron being able to vote on something like that, I don't know if that's proper.
Ashley,
Within-
I'm not asking for the money back. As far as you voting, those builders put 6 acres next to your property and you vote on everything. So you're taking a gift and voting on something, you got more of a conflict than I ever did. Don't bring that up. You wanna pack that board again? Jeez. Let everybody vote, Ashley, please.
no, my recommendation is we can move forward with Ron voting, but he probably should clarify his comments from the last meeting, and just state on the record that he does not have a conflict for that reason.
I don't have a conflict. Half of those people on that list can't ask anyway.
The last meeting, Ron, you did clearly state that we refunded the money to the church. You would be asking for yours and Cindy's money.
I said I might be asking, Ashley. Actually, I didn't ask for the easement money when we gave the easement to the church. I didn't ask for the easement
Ron,
money. Ashley, let me speak, please.
I'm just
Can
saying,
I
you
speak and
said
answer
at
you?
the last meeting.
Can I answer you? We did not ask for the easement money all the way down Shady Lane. We didn't ask for the easement money for putting out water pipe in underground up there. I didn't even ask for the money when we donated the Shady Lane over to this town, and I didn't ask for the money when I worked as clerk for 8 years. So now why would I care about $4,400 stinking dollars? Don't pull that crap on
I'm
me.
just saying what you said.
It's got no conflict at all, actually. The reason the church never gets anything is exactly what happened years ago, what's happening now. So there's some personal vendetta against the church.
On this, so on these people that have paid into it, is there a possibility that they could have you return their money also from this?
I,
Have water, have this.
I don't know.
There's two of them that probably could ask for us.
I don't know what distinguishes in between the church, if the church was to be refunded, why would you not refund these others if these folks asked for it?
If the church has a right to get a refund, why would you not refund them if they also have a right to do it? So you're
That's the
saying
same
we
thing.
vote because we might have to give more money back, so we do the wrong thing, what's morally wrong, because we might have to honor their requests.
No,
That's a good decision.
No, Ron, that is not at all what I'm saying.
That sounds like what you're saying.
I'm saying the church, along with these number of other organizations, have paid the same fee.
So, and if by law they can ask for it back, they should be able to, but I think most of them can't. But we shouldn't be basing it on because
Why can't
somebody
they?
else can get,
Why can't
because
they?
Michelle said they're not all eligible to get them back, like,
I don't know.
or somebody at one of those meetings said like McAllister up there, didn't get there, or
Well,
something.
I don't know that anybody has the right to get that money back or not to get that money back. My point is,
What's there
if
gonna
you
do
give
if
it
the
back to
church-
one person or one organization, I think you would,
Well, what's wrong?
unless there's a reason why, I think you would give it back to everybody.
Actually, if they ask, but why, if it's right that they can ask for it back, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? If we were in the wrong, we owe it to them because of the laws, why would we not give it back to them?
I'm not saying we are in the wrong. You evidently think we're wrong, I'm not saying that we are.
But we all know they oversized. We know they put the pipe in
Well,
twice.
and we know why they oversized and how that was negotiated, but, you don't want to hear that, so whatever.
I've heard it 1,000 times.
That's next on the agenda.
Can the people talk about this issue or not?
We're gonna open up here in a minute. Open it up for comment. Okay.
Cindy Marsh, 749 Shady Lane. First, I'd like to clarify about that ordinance. Reed, I don't understand, because you said, and Michelle said, the same thing that John Carson said, that the church was required to extend the utilities down to the end of their property line, and they didn't do it. There was never that requirement. I read the ordinance at the last meeting, and it's the same ordinance you quoted, Reed. Sorry, mixed you up with one of my kids. 150.046D. In order to facilitate future expansion or development, the town may require the developer to oversize utility lines or extend utilities through the proposed development. Costs for oversizing and/or extension beyond the area to be served by the developer will be the responsibility of the town. The church was never required to extend the utilities down to the end of the town limits. As far as the stormwater management, the utility service agreement, the stormwater management part, this is the reason that the church would be eligible where other people might not. I don't know that other people are not, because I haven't seen their utility service agreement. But this utility service agreement says that the stormwater management plan for this project provides for the conveyance and discharge of stormwaters from this site through a series of ditches and pipe systems. When the town completes the series of ditches and pipe systems, the owner/church can regain full use of its land presently used as a temporary detention pond, the detention pond that is still there. So they haven't been able to use that land for farming or anything else. And then the owner church will direct the stormwater discharge from the project as directed by the town to the edge of the church's real estate. The town will improve drainage as required to receive the flows from the project. The town didn't do any of that. It's like, if I said, give me $10 and I'll mow your grass, and you give me $10 and then I don't mow your grass, are you gonna ask for the money back? It's kind of the same concept. And you know, there's a famous quote that says, the time is always, or it's always the right time to do the right thing. And you may be able to finagle some legal reason why you don't have to return it, but isn't it the right thing to do? I mean, these are our neighbors. It's a town institution. As far as the oversizing of the pipes, you know, they showed you a bill of what it would have cost for the 8-inch, which was the $24,000, and then one for the 12-inch, which was $45,000, and they're asking for the difference, because that's what it says to me when it says the town will pay for oversizing the pipes, that's the difference between installing the 8-inch and installing the 12-inch. So that just seems like a logical conclusion. And I just like, instead of dragging this out with mediators or lawsuits or anything else, can we just resolve this once and for all and just do what is right? Thank you.
Anybody else?
My question would be, do you represent the church well enough to say that you will not go to mediation? Do you have that authority?
I believe I do. I'm the chair trustee who is a holder of a corporation for the church. I'm the president of the organization for the church. But I will not act alone. I've been sent here to provide everyone else's wishes. So if everyone else would vote the opposite way, I would. But this is, like we said last time, we wanted to get it taken care of, and we were unable to do that. So we wanted to get it done this time. So they asked me to come and get it taken care of, and if not, see what the next step would be. So I do have the authority to sign, but I would wait and make sure that the majority did agree with what I said.
So you can't say yes or no now?
I can say yes, but I can sign. So, correct, I can say yes. Well, like your board, I would like to go with what the majority says.
You think it would be appropriate to ask your board if they would entertain mediation?
I've met with them for 3 to 4 hours already today, and probably a total of 60 hours in the last year regarding this, and they've requested me to come multiple times, so I feel like if they didn't want me here, I wouldn't be here.
Was that ever presented to a mediator?
They've actually joked and said Bob and I are currently mediators for this, so we already feel like we're mediating right now, or babysitting, however you want to look at it.
Do you agree with him being a mediator, or to deny mediation?
Really, I think this is a board problem, not a church problem. And mediation probably would have been good 3 months ago, or in January, when I first tried to talk to Ashley.
And turn around.
maybe recommended that we come here to present it. It's really a decision of the board here. We're not trying to be negative to the town. We're just asking for what we feel is fair and equitable. And we would like to hear from you as to what you think is fair and equitable.
Dave, what is the list of stuff that you are not asking for?
We give you a couple, I know it's taking a long time, and everyone's frustrated, and wants to move on, and I think we can all agree on that part. In some of the other statutes, there's damages, interest, the 55,000 that we referred to when we put in the private sewer that became a public sewer. That was financed, the interest on that as well. I think Mrs. Marsh mentioned the land that we could now use, in easy math, 5 acres, $200 an acre for 17 years, that's $17,000 of cash rent that's lost, plus the interest that could have occurred. Now you're looking at another 30 plus. I mean, it climbs really high. We feel like we're asking for less than half of what Odyssey Road, but it doesn't feel like that's mutually reciprocated.
I'm not comfortable making a decision without going over all this, so.
So we need another meeting then. Last meeting, we said we needed one more, so now we're saying we need another.
Mike, can I say something?
We'll pass that down.
You know, we're, sorry, go ahead.
Why do you have to?
I think we're past that.
You missed your chance.
Hire people, not here.
Well, I think it,
If we take the time we need until we have the answers. Let's push for 2 weeks. It's never. You know, it's about like an onion, you know, you start peeling back layers and then, you know, there's more and more and more.
well, I think 2 weeks would give us a time to look over the information and work over it and what people that just gave us. Maybe look up, see if we can come in our information that hasn't been able to be found yet.
That's kind of why I think the mediation, because we can sit here, but we can't sit here by ourselves, we want to sit here with everybody else.
Understood?
And if they're not here to answer the questions, that's why it gets both parties together and they can.
No. So, the law won't allow the parties to be in the same room. That's just, usually you can have an open session where the representatives would speak, and then you go in each room. You can't ask questions. I mean, it's not like a discovery process, but the mediator can go into each room. All of that information that's discussed is confidential, but if you approve the mediator to give the other side information, then you can. So it can help facilitate exchange of information, but it's not necessarily where you can ask. Right? That's really why we needed to have this process. You know, you're a decision-making body essentially. You were able to receive evidence, and now you're at the point. Basically, it's kind of an odd thing, but where you're potentially trying to engage in a settlement offer or a discussion to see what would be perceived, and that's why it's hard to handle this matter as a town council in a public setting.
I feel like I'm hamstrung here. You know, I suppose if the board, I don't know what the right language is, but dismissed their letter entirely, then maybe the church would be willing to go into mediation or hire an attorney, I guess. One of the two. would probably be the answer that they don't want to hear. Maybe that would help this board move through the hurdles that we have to move through so that we can get into mediation to talk about everything.
Are we here to talk now?
Read again, a mediation, in your mind, is it something that costs $1,000 or $2,000 or thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars, or what's it? In a case you've seen here,
Yeah, so they're usually scheduled for either a morning or an afternoon. So, you're at least looking at 4 hours. But in a case like this, it could be longer. So you're probably looking at a mediator who has an hourly rate of about $300 an hour, so somewhere around in the range of $1,500 to $2,000.
he talks to each side, and then he what? He just comes back, I mean, they don't give in, we don't give in, what do you tell you?
Yeah, so usually,
Seems like we got enough information to do the same thing as what we're gonna do with the mediator.
the main thing that we haven't discussed or like had any back and forth is if there's any, settlement that the town would be willing to pay that's less than the full amount. And so if there's, if we're just looking at this as both sides have risk, we're getting back and forth with numbers, or, if there's anything that the parties are gonna need to agree to by contract outside of the numbers, we have an ongoing relationship between the town and the church.
Because I thought this, what they're asking for, is the least of what they're asking for. I thought I heard them say before at another meeting that if we didn't agree to this, then they would, if it went to court or mediation or whatever, they'd be asking for a lot more than what they should ask for. And what I don't wanna do is it end up costing us more than the 72,000 or whatever. I mean, these things,
Well, the agreement was to upsize to 12 inches, which cost them, what, 45,000? If they had to go to their end, all the way to the end, it would have been 100-some thousand for them, probably. So we actually saved them money.
that's not what they agreed to.
Exactly what they
Do you ever
did.
take into account they built us a whole road and donated us the whole entire Wesleyan Drive also? They also put in the sewage at their expense when the town legally should have put it in. And if we'd put it in the first place, we wouldn't even have any of this going on. I was the mediator between the two things years ago, between the church and the old board, because nobody could get along.
Well, Ron, everybody agreed on something way back then, and it was signed into contract. I'm not up here to fight battles that the town boards had with anybody, or businesses that have had with the town board from, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. I mean, there's not a business in this town that hasn't had to, so to speak, jump through hoops to, build whatever it is they're gonna build. I mean, my God, talk to McAllister, talk to, the folks across the street corner here on that building, I mean, talk to Dollar General, everybody has.
That building over there, the lawyer was our lawyer that passed everything through there. They passed that as quick as they could pass anything, actually. One of the towns was Stripes. But we have the information. What more information are we going to get in mediation, is what I don't understand, and what they give us.
If they're not willing to do mediation, then that's probably off the table, because we can't say we're doing mediation.
So
If they're not gonna be a willing participant, then it doesn't work for that. So it goes back to if we decide to hold off, they're gonna go after us with an attorney and a lawsuit. If we can buy a couple weeks, so I can change and look up something, we'll do that. And see, if we can't find what we're looking for, then done deal. And I think that's what it's at, 2 weeks or.
I think we would vote on it separately too. So it'd be stormwater, yes or no, utility credit, yes or no. And so that's what I'm looking at, is why there could be different proposals, based on what you decide. I mean, if this if we could get part of it settled and part of it to remain open. If it goes to court, you know, they could win on part and
Part
lose
of
on
it
part.
tonight settled, or part of it in 2 weeks settled?
Either. I mean, the only way that we can reach a settlement is if we make an offer. I'm not saying that you need to do that, I'm just saying that that's the decision that you can make is, that you do wanna, vote on it and, move forward with it tonight, or you don't want to.
I think we need 2 weeks more research and go from there. See what we have at the end of 2
Are
weeks.
they trying to do something?
On all of it or part of it?
Nobody knows what the time trouble
I think that,
Ashley, on all of it or part of it? Do you want to vote on anything tonight, or?
I think it needs to be all of it, and then it's done, whatever, however it works out.
I make a motion to give them what they put in this letter, everything they asked for, up to $72,000, and not go through all this future legal, costly stuff that we're gonna have to. We have the information, we should have decided on it, we asked them to come back, whatever.
Do we have a motion for that 2 week?
he
motion for the 2 weeks.
I'll make a motion. My motion was
You
that,
never finished the motion, actually, you just started. I made a motion.
Peter made a motion, is there a second for Ron's motion?
Second.
How do you vote, yes or no?
Yes.
How do you vote on Ron's motion, to pay everything?
why don't we repeat
Well-
Ron's motion? Somebody repeat it, so.
Okay.
There are 3 parts. You're including the stormwater,
Yeah.
the oversized credit, and the interest.
Yeah, interest we should
Yeah, but he said
balance.
Just to clarify, so the total amount is, those 3 amounts in their letter from February. That's what you're,
This letter right here.
yeah.
That's what it is, if you don't pay it all, then that's your vote.
So Ron's motion is to refund everything that they asked for up to how much?
72,000.
So refund everything that they asked for in their letter up to $72,000
Okay,
is
so,
Ron's motion.
okay, without going the 2 weeks.
Correct, so just so everybody's clear, so Ron's motion, city's motion.
So my motion is the letter dated February 23rd, these points here, the interest and the credits, stormwater credits and stuff, the oversizing credits, we give them, that's what we give them. I think that adds up to what?
Because you offered the alternative.
$72,211.75 roughly.
It didn't have a total.
What are the 2 amounts? I got 3 amounts, I don't know, 3.
No,
So what do you think to it?
No,
Have the separate motion.
$23,230.
That's not a good one.
The interest was 17,
72,000.
yeah, 72,000.
Ash, I'm sorry, but Ashley did start his motion first.
No, we didn't. No, play it back.
he did,
He did.
No, we didn't. Ron started it first.
so,
Let's
we're,
vote.
we already have a motion second for Ron. You voted yes? Or you?
Only because I thought it was the 2 weeks.
Okay, so you'd be voting what, then?
So
What did you think it was on?
let's hear Ron's motion again.
To give us 2 weeks.
No, I said, so we don't have to go through all this stuff.
Ron just wants to pay it.
I just want to pay it
Write
because
the
they're not
check.
even asking for, yes, actually, I want to write a check because they're asking for half, less than half of what they could ask for.
There's been a motion
You
and
know?
a second. How do you vote now, you know what the motion is? No.
No,
No. Okay, now if you want to make your 2 week motion, that's what.
I make a motion that we take at least 2 weeks to do more discovery on our board's end. And maybe that would cause a special meeting to take a vote, or wait until the next meeting.
Let's set a 2-week. May.
What do they make you?
It's Tuesday after.
Start with me.
Is that an open door meeting? What kind of meeting?
Yeah, because I think that would be our,
So we'd have our
Determination.
information. You're saying we could get our information and make a determination?
yes.
What time?
What time?
6.
6?
I make a motion.
There's a motion second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carried.
So did everybody vote yes on that?
Yes.
So you're a no vote, a non-vote?
Just a non-vote.
So, 5 yes. All right, Shady Lane.
Is that a utility, or is that,
Regular meeting, wasn't it?
actually move that to the regular meeting?
Motion second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Utility report.
Okay. Is the microphone working all right, so speaking loud enough this time?
You might want to flip it up.
Yeah, push it up a little bit.
All right, that better?
You're good.
Good. All right, first item is underwater. So last year, we had all the fire hydrants flushed and maintenance done on them. 70 fire hydrants that we're responsible for. That all worked out well. All the hydrants are working. But one thing and one purpose of doing that is to get our insurance ratings lowered for the town of Dayton through approving flow rates on them to the insurance companies. There's a clearinghouse that rates each town on their fire protection insurance rate. And then whenever a company calls, whoever, you want insurance on your home, they check with this clearinghouse on what the fire rating is for the town of Dayton. So the way that this is kind of the next step in what we're trying to accomplish. So what you do is that each year you have 20% of your fire hydrants flow tested. Then goes into a record. I share that with Sean Alkire, fire chief. He has his part of the form that gets filled out. So that's the next step I would like to go to. So to have that done each year, at least for this year anyway, the price is $2,150. To have 20% of our fire hydrants flow tested, that's 14 of them. So I'd like to go ahead and get that scheduled, if that's all right with everybody.
I'd make a motion that we do the Emmy Simpson, have them do our flow ratings on 20% of our hydrants.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Under wastewater, last month we had the spring maintenance done on all the lift stations, had them cleaned, and then they check all the pumps. There's one pump at the Deerfield lift station that they're recommending has some repairs done to it. It's running fine, but whenever they do, the amperage draws on and so forth, it's showing that there's probably some moisture or condensation at the very least affecting the windings in this motor. We have a spare pump at our shop for that lift station. So, it'd be $3,000 for them to pull this pump and rebuild it while we have the other one put in place so it keeps running. For a new pump, it's $6,000. So I'm just looking for some guidance on which way to go. Do you want to have this existing pump rebuilt, or you just want to have the spare pump installed and move forward from there?
I think previous experience, we have pump rebuilt.
This one's a new pump?
No, this is one of the older ones.
Yeah, this is
Deerfield lift station would be probably the next lift station that we would update when we're ready to do something like that. But trouble-wise, we really haven't had that much problem. Since we've done our regular maintenance program with, correct me if I'm wrong, since we've been on that maintenance program, it's worked a lot smoother.
Yeah, and I don't know the past history on how much trouble you had with those stations, but so far, in my year that I've been here, it's went fairly well.
Rebuilding the pump would be.
That's what the contractor recommends. And he told me, he said it could just be condensate, it could be something simple, it could be the windings need replaced. So in a worst case scenario, it would be $3,000. It could be less, but I always want to quote the worst case scenario.
Say, fix it.
Okay. I'll get that scheduled in. Next item is the grease and grit inspection. So twice a year I go around and for those facilities that have them, do the grease chamber inspections and the grit chambers for like McAllister's out there. And it all came back good. Those inspections are completed. All the businesses are doing well and keeping their things pumped out, which is important to our, on the grease part, it's important to our wastewater system. That can cause problems for us. But everybody's up to speed on it, so I'm glad to see that. Under stormwater, you may or may not have noticed that at Harrison and Main, every time it rains, we get ponding water in the road there. So we had a company come in, and there's three drains right there close together. We had a company come in and clean out the piping in between the drains, and it seems to be working well now. So hopefully we won't have that problem in the future. It's small. The problem there is it's 4-inch pipe between each of the catch basins. But you get some sticks or some leaves down there, it doesn't take anything.
The other two are in the yards, aren't they?
Yes,
Yeah. We've had trouble with that for a long time.
Oh, is that right?
I think with our curb and guttering that we put in there and different lids on the catch basins now as a result of that curb and guttering.
Yeah.
I think that'll help our situation there.
And they were draining slow before we put those in, so it'll be good to see how much that does help in the future here. The other item under stormwater is the Dollar General, so that contractor is trying to get that all finished up. Primarily what's left is landscaping, erosion control, putting down the straw mats, straws, things like that. Also, through recommendation from Michelle from Butler Fairman, the ground had settled in between the curb and the sidewalk, which causes a hazard there. Plus, it makes the curb more brittle if someone would jump that curb. So one item they still have to complete is backfill between the curb and sidewalk again and get that seed and straw so that it's the way that it should be in the future. Because that's ours. Once we sign off on that, that'll be our responsibility, that curb and sidewalk right there. Okay. So that should be getting wrapped up very soon. Under streets, so the big project is the Yost Drive proposals. we received 5 proposals from engineering firms, which is, we had to have a minimum of 3. So it's always good to see a lot of interest in our project. The next step is to score or grade those proposals, and that's going to happen Thursday. So that'll be the next step we take. Then we submit what we find to NDOT, and we'll just be getting a step closer each time. It's a time-consuming process. We're getting there. You know, even if we were a little bit farther along, the money will not be released to do anything until mid to late July, so we're just trying to stay ahead of things just a little bit, so far we've been able to do that. Do you have any questions about the US Drive project?
Remind us again what this first step will provide.
The first step is for preliminary engineering and right-of-way acquisition. Okay? The total estimated cost for that is $550,000. The town share is 20% or $110,000.
And our initial out-of-pocket is?
The way it works is, so we get a bill, say that the engineering firm has been hired, they submit a bill to the town every month. Even if it's for a very small amount, they have to submit a bill every month so that NDOT sees progress on the project and that's not getting stalled out. So we get a bill for $40,000, we'll say. We have to pay that amount in full, submit the paid invoice to NDOT, they reimburse us back to 80%. Next month, we do the same thing. So it is a rolling total that goes along there, but at the end, we should have no more than 20% of the total cost for the engineering and right-of-way acquisition out of our pockets, although we do have some upfront costs to cover things as we go.
So how many months do we have to come up with that? Will we need to,
It'll
at
be,
the end of how many months will we pay the $110,000?
it'll probably be a 2-year project, just the engineering. Does that sound about right? Something like that?
Yeah, maybe a little less.
So-
They're trying to shorten it a bit,
Yeah, so
the buying and stuff.
12 to 24 months, we'll stretch over that time period.
You're probably on the lower end because you already own a good portion of that land. And the designer should try to stay within what you
I
guys
just
already
want to know
have.
how many years we have to come up with the money.
Yeah.
You know, where it's
It'd be,
all coming.
yeah, it would be a minimum. So let's say that, what we'll call the shortest scenario is 12 months. So 110, so we'd be talking about around $10,000 a month out of pocket when it's all said and done over.
And then once that 12 months or 15 or whatever's up, then how soon do we have to start coming up with that $1 million?
You know, that's not on the list for construction until 2024 or 2025. So these things take some time. So we're probably a good 5, possibly 6 years out before we actually see construction. Is it possible that it could happen sooner than that because a project gets canceled somewhere else? It's possible, but right now, the estimated schedule is 2025, I believe.
So they're gonna bill us, we're gonna pay it, we're gonna get reimbursed,
Yes.
and then are there gonna be reports or anything that we need to sign to close out those sections like we had problems with before? Is that something that's,
Yeah, that's something I'm already doing, so every quarter, and I've already done it for the first quarter, there are quarterly reports that are submitted that show what steps we've completed and what the next step is.
so we have a checklist and,
Yes. And it's very important because it's federal funds we're going to be receiving, and there's a lot of criteria that you must meet to get those federal funds. And one is, as I mentioned earlier, is that the engineering firm has to submit a bill every month because they don't want to see something just laying out there. And they want to see progress, steady progress on projects like this. And so monthly billing from the engineering fees, and with that monthly billing is a progress report along with that billing. And then from the town is quarterly reports to NDOT showing where we are in the steps and what our next step's gonna be.
But that phase 2 is not a rolling, we have to come up with our 20%.
The construction, yeah, when it gets, so, let's say it's 2025, 2024, whatever it is, and everything's designed, we're getting ready to do construction, the bid goes out, whatever that bid comes in at, before anything's done, the town has to pay the full 20% before the federal money will spend it on it.
So if it's a $4 million job,
We would have to come up with $1 million
That's $4 million today.
out at the very beginning of any work was done.
Well, 20% of 4 million would be less than $1 million.
800,000,
I
yes.
think somebody
Close
said
enough.
4 to 4.5.
Close enough in one
Yeah.
chunk.
Yeah, we would be required to come up with that money.
But by 2025, it will be probably over $1 million.
Yeah, because costs aren't gonna go down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we have those monies to come up with that?
That's where we need to see where we can invest, or where the housing addition's gonna be, or where the TIF is, because right now, we couldn't hand over that money.
The engineering estimates has some inflation built into it, and it's also, my understanding, probably overestimated rather than underestimated, okay? But, you know, at some point in time, we will find out how this engineering estimates are.
We can start encumbering money from now to the next year for that project. Like we used to do it for the police department, we encumber money from the year before, save up for 2 years for the police department. That's what we need to do now, start encumbering money to save for that.
And that's kind of what Retha, her meeting is about too, to see where we can afford to put back and save. And we're looking in possibly like doing some city investments to help us build on our accounts where they're just sitting there.
All right. Next item is the community crossing grant. So I had mentioned July 1st previously, and that is the actual opening date. So there's a window from July 1st to August 2nd that the town has the opportunity to resubmit our community crossing grant for this 75-25 cost share. One thing, speaking to Ashley, one thing that we've noticed is that on Dayton Road, there's some areas that are really deteriorating since the winter time. So we'll want to take a closer look at those as we move forward with this proposal. You might want to take a look at in your areas of town and speak to your constituents and see if there's some areas that you think need fixed in your areas. You know, this is a good time to do that.
now is that when that road grading plays into this one?
Yes, yes, it is. That was part of the proposal, the community crossing grant is where we,
So we have a, part of our asset maintenance plan is to have our roads graded every year. That's a phase report, and so they rate, you know, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being new, you know, 1 being a cow path. And so, you know, we're kind of been focusing on the you know, neediest roads, and you know, we have some 3s and 4s here in town, and that's, you know, usually what makes the list.
So the last 3 ones we applied for, those 3 projects that amounted to 140 or so, and we lost all of that.
yes.
Because Alex didn't submit it. Are we going to reapply for those again, or?
Well, I would think you'd want to reapply for those, and there's other ones that we need to add to that. You know, we do it twice a year, okay? So the thought was when we did the first grant was, you know, let's catch some of these in the, you know, first round, and then let's, you know, look at some other ones for the second round. Well, you know, we did not get chose, we didn't lose anything, but we did not get chose for the first round. So now, you take your first round and maybe what you would have had in that second round, and that would be in this Kirtland that we would apply for.
Why didn't we get chosen? We didn't get chosen.
Because the paperwork wasn't finished.
Yeah.
Well, yes, you know that, so.
Well, your wording is.
We didn't lose any money, we did not get chose to receive a grant. There's a difference there.
We lost
We got,
Neither one's good, I'm not saying either
we
one
got
is good.
$140,000 because we did the paperwork, we'd be $140,000 ahead. And this time we could ask for any roads we wanted to, so we didn't lose.
You can ask for any road you want to now, as long as you got your 25% match in it, so.
Anyway, we all should look at all the roads, talk to the people in town and get some ideas. And we should look at the chart, because I think the 3 roads last time were not the lowest on the priority.
And I have copies of that report for all the town board members, if you'd like one, I've got them printed out, so it gives you a rating for each of the roads. Okay. Next item, as you probably already know, the street sweeping was completed on April 30th. Under other business, the hotel project, as you've probably heard, that hotel project's been canceled. I'd heard that, and I spoke to the developer. The reasoning why they canceled the project is because the height of the hotel. The more storage you build, the more of a setback you have to have back away from the property lines. And for the building they wanted to put up, they did not have the acreage there that the setback required. So it's unfortunate. I think that it would have been a good business, and I think we would have done well at that location. But he didn't want to change the footprint of it, to change the number of rooms or anything about it. But he was very appreciative and about all the cooperation he had received here at the town board meeting, so that speaks well of him. So there'll be other projects, last item is, Ty had asked me about the Christmas lighting along State Road 38. So usually the way it's done is that they add receptacles at just the poles where there's already street lights. I think there's 10 of them from Pennsylvania down to the car wash. So I spoke to Duke Energy, and there's the price, $1,560, which is not a bad price to do that. I know there's a monthly fee involved, and he said, well, that's determined by what type of lights you have. So if you have LED lights, it's cheaper, of course. If you get the older incandescent lights, your monthly fee is more. That fee is on top of your regular street light fee, So the thing about it is they're responsible for all maintenance and stuff of that receptacle and stuff once they install it. So, I don't know if you want to think about it, if you want to move forward on it.
So how many posts are there?
10. There's 10 streetlights in between Pennsylvania and the car wash, and they're all on the north side of the road.
So Tyrone, are we talking about putting Christmas trees up?
just, kind of like when you go to Mulberry at Christmas time, their posts have lights and decorations, so it just looks a little more friendly and nice when it comes to town.
He says that we have some.
Nope, isn't the ones that, you go out there to the barn, they already have.
Years
lights in
ago,
those
right,
trees.
trees and all kind of things, stars and candy canes.
Brackets are out there, I mean, they're.
You can leave your banners off the ones with the lights, save those for,
Yeah.
right?
But, yeah, we'd have to look at it, think those 10 posts, do you want all those in a row and then all your flags down separate, east and west, or versus one here and one there and one, or to get them too skimpy, that doesn't look right.
He say how long it would take to install those receptacles.
No, it does, he didn't, and it doesn't take long. I've worked with them before. It takes longer to get on their schedule than it does for them to actually do the work.
So if we were to get on their schedule and not ask for it till maybe August or so,
Yeah, that would be, I think that's reasonable to to let them know, yes, we want, well, if I tell them we want to move forward with it, we have to sign the contract,
Okay,
okay? And then they put us on their work schedule.
and the payment is made,
I believe at the time that the contract's signed.
So it's just a one-time fee for the receptacles, and it's just
Yes,
$5,
And then,
$10 a month for a light.
yeah,
Just Christmas month,
Christmas
really,
time.
that's how we use it.
We talked about it for years, and we do it.
I mean,
you know, I don't believe that's right, Ty. I
It's a
believe that it's a
monthly
monthly fee,
even if you're not using.
even if you're not using it. But they do put restrictions on it. They say, okay, so even though there's a monthly fee, you can only use these between November and January. You know, it's not like you can have lights, you know, you can't have seasonal
So
lighting.
what's the monthly fee?
It's, where I had it done before, it was around $20 a month per pole.
So you got 240 poles, and then you got 10 poles, or $240 per pole.
No, $20 per pole. Oh, yeah, 12 months.
Times
Yeah.
12 months,
Yeah,
240 times 10 poles is 2,400 just for the electricity, plus then the 1,560. I thought that was first just,
You know, I think what I should do is pin them down a little bit more on the monthly fee before we make a decision. You know, at least we know the installation costs right now. Now, in speaking, you said you had some lines, are they LED lines, or are they incandescent lines?
I think there's some LED that are.
Because that, what I'll do is I'll get, you know, I'll say, okay, give me a monthly fee if it's incandescent, give me a monthly fee if it's LED. That way we have a couple options. That'd be all right.
See if they can do a motorcycle insurance kind of payment where it's just only pay for part of the year.
Yeah, just when you're riding it.
Doesn't make it charge you for. Rossville has some nice poles all through there. They have more than 10 poles, I think. If they go on the same plan, they must be spending 10, 15,000.
Is that right? I'll make sure that and where I did it before with the Lions Club paid the town paid the installation fee and the Lions Club paid the monthly fee, so I wasn't exactly for sure how that worked out.
I'll call Pat and Clay Rossville and ask her to give you the.
Okay, so I'll get back with them. I've got a contact with Duke, and he'll let me know. Any questions about anything?
Comments from residents for utilities.
So you coming up? Look good.
It's harder every day. I'm Robert Bowman, I live at 291 Republican Street, and I've had several requests. You take care of the alley by the Redbird. It's full of chuck holes, and a lot of people use it. It's a little alley that comes off to the east. I think it needs to be looked into. A lot of people come that way, make it easier to get in and out, for barber shop and everything. It's been that way ever since I lived here. It fixed everything, all the other alleys but that one.
Those are called speed bumps, Bob.
Speed bumps?
Speed bumps, yeah.
Well, can I put some on my street? 2 streets? Anyway.
Hi, I'm Steve Shuley, I live at 7315 Wesleyan Drive. I have some questions about the Yost project. On the reimbursement, so we pay that bill, how long after we pay will we be reimbursed that money? Does anybody know?
They said within 30 days you would get your 80% back.
Okay. Because otherwise we could be out a lot of money floating out there and not be able to do things we might have to do at a point. Do we have an idea of how long, once we get into this and we do this project, how long it's going to take us to make the money back that we've invested into it?
You would have a TIF district set up, okay? You know, how fast does people move into that or not move into that? Don't really know that. If you look at what Dayton was, say, 5, even 10 years ago, and what's happened out by the interstate since then, you know, we've got CNG station, we've had, you know, McAllister built and then also expanded. You know, we've had Dollar General, we've had, you know, some other stuff go on out there. You know, you would think that there would be activity out there, you know, nothing in this world's for sure, but
So,
by making it more conducive.
do we have an idea of how many businesses we'd have to put in or anything? Because it's a big outlay of money to put out and then just kind of have, you know, McAllister's obviously going to take advantage of it because they'll be able to run other exits out of their primary they're currently in. And the farmer's going to be happy because he can sell his land. But, you know, how soon will it, you know, I know it's all based on somebody's got to want to build something out there and then pay taxes and so on, but do we have an idea?
I've been in, you know, a couple of things. I've been in involved in some meetings, and there's the possibility of having participation from businesses, and as businesses move in, and maybe even landowners, you know, helping out with the expense of the road. You know, it all depends on how much money the town would borrow for the road as to what is needed to you know, be paid back. You know, obviously, if you borrow $500,000 or you know, that's cheaper than $1 million, okay. Preliminary numbers on the truck dealership, you know, was $24,000, I believe, per year is what they would pay in that TIF district. So, you know, you can extrapolate that out over, you know, a number of businesses worth, you know, I can't remember the value on the truck dealership, was it like $1.5 million, $3 million, somewhere in that area?
Well, I mean, that was the assessed property with the, not with the trucks and everything.
10 million, yeah.
Okay, well, you kind of touched on my next question, which is, are the other properties that are existing, will they be helping to cover some of these costs? McAllister, the farm, whoever's gonna.
The TIF district would only be for new businesses. The other businesses might be included in it, but as far as having that revenue dedicated to the TIF district, no, they're exempt from that.
Steve, I mentioned before that the owners up there, plus McAllister, have all indicated before with some of them, they would be willing to help in these costs. And a couple of them are going to make some big money, you know, it's going to turn their property into millions, not
Right.
hundreds of thousands. And we as a board need to talk and decide the 80 or 100,000 we got to come up with, and the million we got to come up with, our portion. The taxes aren't going to pay all that, so we could lose this money in the future. But maybe these people that are going to invest and make or they're going to have land to make millions by our investment, maybe they would participate. I know Kelly Carr mentioned before he'd be willing. McAllister said they'd be willing. And I just talked to Dan, I happened to see him the other day when I was in there, renting a machine, and he said, how's the road going? And I told him, and he said they would be willing to help, money or machinery or whatever. And then we need to check with the farmers, everybody that's got land up there, instead of just Dayton footing the whole bill.
Okay. The other thing, and I say this with all due respect, but after listening to the church and coming to these meetings as long as I have, what are we doing to make sure that the documentation is put into place that in 10 years or 20 years, we're not right back where we are right now with the church and he said, she said, and we can't find our copy of the documentation, but they have a miraculous copy of the documentation. Who and what are we putting in place to make sure that the town is CYA? You know what I mean? We're covering our ass.
Well, I know personally important documents, I am scanning them in and saving them on our computer, and I'm also being more detailed in filing, not just throwing everything on a back shelf.
Okay.
So we've got, Tammy and I have been working a lot on that, to where there is detailed folders, so we can know that we can go straight in there rather than trying to find a needle in a haystack.
I just mostly want to make sure
Right.
we're looking into how we're going to do this because it's a big project with a lot of money and a lot of moving parts. So.
Yep.
The big thing now though is, you know, we have computers versus back then, that stuff's so easy to be stored, so now we actually have digital copies, which is a lot easier to keep track of than, file cabinet after file cabinet gets moved upstairs and in the basement, so it should be easier.
We have a designated man on the ground now, that we never had before.
So it's all up to you, Mark.
Anybody else? Somebody got anything, Ken? Reed? Ron, you got anything?
Make a motion to adjourn the utility meeting.
Dayton Town Hall meeting is now in session. With asking for approval of the board minutes for March 11th, 2019.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for March 11th, 2019.
Second.
Been a motion made, properly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I'd like to ask for approval of the town board minutes for April 8th, 2019.
Motion to approve the April 8th, 2019 board minutes.
Second.
Been a motion made and properly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of the claims. I'd like to ask for approval of the claims docket May 13th, 2019.
Motion.
Let me ask one question.
Yep.
Michelle, on the Henriot group, this is part of the yearly payment. How much is the whole yearly insurance program now with Henriot? Is it 14 or 16 or 18?
I think, which one are you talking about? Because there's multiple invoices
Yeah.
that we had to pay that was approved at last meeting.
Yeah, this is only part of it. Do you happen to know offhand?
I can go grab them, because there was the workman's comp one, there was the town one, there was the invoice for their work to do the policy and all of that, so I can rescan those invoices to you. But I think you should have copies from last month's meeting from all of those invoices. But I mean, if you don't, I'll get you the copies. Yeah. But I think it was all of the annual that goes until, I want to say April 9th of 2020.
Well, our policy used to be around 14,000. I just want to know if
Yeah,
it's gone way up or.
No, I think it was right around there, it's just that workman's comp got changed.
Yeah.
So that was that added on thing.
Make a motion, we approve the claims docket May 13th, 2019.
Second.
Been a motion made and properly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I'd like to ask for approval of the revenue report for April 30th, 2019.
Allowance docket.
I'd like to ask for approval of the allowance docket from April 1st to April 30th, 2019.
Make a motion, we approve the allowance docket from April 1, 2019 through April 30, 2019.
Second.
Been a motion made and properly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, now I'd like to ask for approval of the revenue report for 4/30/2019.
Make a motion, we approve revenue appropriations, revenue report from April 30th, 2019.
Second.
Been a motion made and properly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Approval of the appropriations report for April 30th, 2019.
Make a motion, we approve the appropriations report of April 30th, 2019.
Second.
Motion made and properly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Clerk treasurer report.
Okay, so the first thing you guys have is the copy from the INPER, as I've kept most of you updated. Mark, when he started last year and enrolled into PERF, we've been paying into it our 11.2%. Mark has been paying in his mandatory, plus he puts in extra. After he had started last year, he was constantly questioning that he felt like there was a problem with his PERF account. But he kept being informed that everything was fine, the money was going in there, not to worry about it. When it got addressed, the issue about if the police got workers' comp or insurance through PERF, and I called it to check on that, and I let them know about our covered positions. They informed me that Mark's position was not covered, and we had been illegally paying and reporting into PERF the past year. So we had to stop reporting Mark. He's not been reported, I think, for going on 2 months. I had to do negative adjustments for a whole year's worth of payment, so everything that we paid into it and everything that Mark had paid into it. So the town portion of the 11.2% for Mark, we paid $5,445.51. And then Mark's voluntary, or his mandatory and voluntary added up to $5,348.29. So I did negative adjustments for a total of $10,793.80. As you can see in the letter, to be able to give Mark back his credit so that he does not lose that retirement credit or that work credit, they went back and calculated what we had to pay from his date of hire until effective June 1st, so it would still cover him in the 2 months that I've not been able to report him. So we have to pay $9,912 to give him his service credit. So if it would have been fixed at the time that he questioned it, we would have been fine and only would have paid the $5,400. So now we have to pay a difference of $4,466.49 to be able to give him his credit for the past year to fix that problem. So since I did the negative adjustments and we have that credit, so they cannot give us back that money in a check. So that money, that $10,793 is sitting on our PERF account. So what we can do is we don't have to write a physical check for the $9,912. They will just take that from our credit that's sitting on our account, so that will leave us a difference of $881.80 on our account. So next time I report PERF for a payroll, instead of me like doing a ACH transfer to pay for that, they will just take that, so then it will finish paying for that. But Mark's portion of the $5,348.29, we cannot put back into his PERF account. We have to give him back that money. So I need approval to give Mark a check in the amount of $5,348.29. And then also you have a copy of the resolution for the PERF to enlarge the account to add Mark's position. So I have, because Tyrone has to sign that, so I have what is going to be added. So I just need the approval of giving him that check, also paying the $9,912, and also to enlarge the PERF account to add his maintenance supervisor position so that Mark can get his credit and we can get him back on reporting to PERF as of June 1st.
I would make that motion.
Second.
Got a motion made and properly seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, so that's that.
Is that, Michelle, is that something when the auditor comes in, they'll look at, is that like a penalty? You say it costs us $4,700 extra.
It's not a
Because-
penalty, because they're just going back, but ultimately, I mean, if it would have been addressed at that time, they would have realized that it wasn't there. They would have, or the same process that I'm doing now as the resolution to enlarge the PERF account would have been done, so we would have just went on. You know, they might have had to retract a month of PERF payments, but since they went back, because they go off of information that Mark sends over, and they based it off of his job, so that's how they calculate.
So it costs us $4,600.
So ultimately, yes, we're paying a difference of $4,400 to make sure that Mark gets back his rightful credit. He has to take that money that he has been putting into PERF and go and invest it somewhere else.
So he's kind of lost some investment money,
Yeah,
and we're buying his years of service for him,
yes, to make sure
because
that,
he didn't get it.
right.
Oh, I'm all for that, I just want to know
Yeah,
how much it
yeah.
will cost.
Yeah, it wasn't a penalty per se, but we are paying almost $4,500 more out of pocket to fix.
To correct it.
Correct the situation. So the only physical check that I will be writing is giving back Mark his, that he's put in. So the next thing that you guys have, I know since I've been here, there's been talk about getting the different phone lines and getting multiple lines. Because when people call in, there's people sometimes will call and it will go straight to our mailbox. It won't even ring into the office and people can't get through. So Ashley gave me the name of the Uplink Communications and asked me to get a quote from them, and then I also got a quote from Mulberry. So the first quote, they're both ultimately the same thing, multiple lines. So what would happen is when somebody would call the office now, instead of it ringing directly into the office, it will say press 1 for clerk treasurer, press 2 for utility clerk, press 3 for water maintenance or waterworks, press 4 for police. So say if somebody doesn't have the police phone number, it could go directly to the station. And then there's been numerous times where I've been sitting on the phone, like say for perf, on the phone with them sitting for hours, and people are constantly calling in, but I can't click over. Now with this, Mark can sit back in his office and be on the phone, Tammy can be on the phone, I can be on the phone, all on different lines, being able to handle the different calls coming in and not holding up the line. So the only difference is, so the uplink quote, the equipment for the 3 phones and to be able to have the multiple lines and everything, the equipment fee is $608.39. The monthly bill would be roughly $98. And you can see the picture of the phone in the bottom. This is not, I guess, the best phone that this offers, but this is what Uplink offers. If you look at Mulberry, who we're with, so with their phones, for 3 of them, it would be $525. We did talk about having Bluetooth headsets because these do have cords, and we're killing our neck trying to bend our necks down while on the phone trying to type. They did quote 3 Bluetooth headsets at $75 a piece for $225. I feel like we can get those cheaper elsewhere. It's just Bluetooth headsets. It's not something that we have to have for these phones. We can go get them ourselves. So the Mulberry, their monthly bill would be a little bit over than what we pay now, so it would be approximately $80. I feel like we just do the $525, get the phones, we have a cheaper cost, we stay with Mulberry, we don't have to switch anything, and then we price way cheaper Bluetooth headsets. But then that gives us the capability to do multiple things and being able to transfer. Right now also calling our voicemail, we have to call a phone number, then we have to put in our phone number, then we have to put in a password. These phones that you have a picture of on the last page, you simply press a button, it gives you your voicemails. If they said that these phones will last us at least 10 to 15 years. Mulberry's already on them, their town hall's getting ready to go on them. So this is that whole thing that we've been waiting to hear about them switching over and getting the line. So my opinion, I think we should stick with Mulberry, just go with their phones, find different headsets. Also, because Scott and I had talked about this, right now, so we're not cramping our necks, we're putting the phones on speakerphone. If somebody were to come in and we're on the phone, it's a privacy issues.
Instead of doing 3 phones, wouldn't we do the 4th phone for the police department?
No, it would just automatically transfer to their phone. They're separate from us. So their phone number, which they can just put in, their call forwarding. So Scott already has his phones transferred to their cell phones, I believe. So it would just be transferred to their line phone if somebody presses, say, forward for police. And then that call would automatically transfer to wherever Scott has it transferred to.
Well, I'll make a motion.
But your phone, you don't have the features that these new phones have, voice over IP. Pardon? Is your phone, just a regular landline phone, or is it over internet?
Flame. Flame, I believe it's from here.
Yeah, they're not on the same phone lines that we don't have the same phone companies.
Oh.
It is
Frontier out there.
Mulberry out there.
That's right, that's right. Okay.
But I mean, they're still able to be transferred to the police
That's
line
right.
from,
I forgot about him not being on Mulberry.
yeah.
So I'd make the motion to go ahead and approve the Mulberry telephone.
Second.
The motion made and properly seconded, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Long overdue.
Yeah, they said it's gonna be a lot less complicated, there shouldn't be problems with people calling in, and we'll just be able to take all these easier. So the next quote that I have is from Haley's Lock. We had to have them come out because we were having issues with the back door, our keys weren't going in but halfway and jamming. So Tammy had suggested getting a quote for a push button lock on the back door. A couple of us have talked about it, because, you know, we do have somebody close to that back door, and it would be easier than digging for keys, or if it's pouring rain, or we're carrying a bunch of stuff, you know, just being able to press a code in there. So this is just the quote that Haley's gave us. The push lock is $635.75, and to install the access control lock is $125, for a total of $760.75. So I was just bringing that, since I was asked to get it, and let you guys go from there.
I think we ought to use the key.
I was just asked to get it, so here it is, and
What do you guys think?
I don't know how much your card swipe is, but,
it would be the same concept if a card swipe was doing that for keys.
You know, we have a security system, and nobody can remember the numbers, so we haven't used it for a year and a half.
Well, no, I think everybody has their own codes now.
Well, now they do, but I mean, we didn't use it for a year and a half,
Right.
2 years
still
straight.
know our, can't remember our numbers. But
Yeah, and so if you
Come on,
have,
Ashley.
if you have something electronic on the back, it just seems to me like,
Now, I don't know how, if everybody would have the same code, or if everybody would have their own code. I don't know.
You
seems like
should
you'd
have your own code.
have your own code, so you can know, monitor who's
Yeah.
coming in.
Right,
Then
right.
again, I'm telling you, I sat up here and everybody would ask over and over, what's my number, what's my number? And then finally, they just stopped using it,
Yeah.
you know,
Well-
so,
Then they won't get in.
whatever you guys.
I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and have the push button lock system put in our back door for $760.
Anyone second? Second motion. Motion made and properly seconded, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I don't know what that was.
That's all I-
How many?
Oh, I was an aye.
I knew it was.
I was an aye.
So was that a 3 to 2?
I said aye.
Oh, 4.
I didn't say aye, but I'll go along with the flow, so.
Okay.
Thank you, Ashley.
Huh? Oh, yeah, we're still moving on. We still got estimates. Or requested estimates, I was told to get. So the next estimate that Ron had Nate give us for the paint the 5 doors and to remove the 2 awnings, but when I talked to Nate, we don't
Strip
have.
them down.
Well, no. So Nate said that he had talked to the painter or something and said that it would cost us a lot, that, I don't know, something because of, what did he say, the aluminum or something, that just one awning could take 8 hours. But we don't even have a quote for paint. So this is strictly a quote for,
So take it down and put it back up.
to take, yeah. And this
paint
isn't,
the doors. It doesn't have anything to do with painting the awnings.
yeah, Nate,
But he's taking it down.
He's
just
taking it down to
He would
have
just take it
somebody
down.
take it
He's- yeah.
someplace to have it
I'll have
painted.
my guys paint it for $50. I mean, we could do that, scrape it, paint it.
Yeah.
Once it's down, it's easier. Last time you had to climb up there, and it was hard standing on that
Right.
ladder getting over the top.
right. Well, and that's why I had him, because I asked him, well, since we don't have a quote for painting, what he would knock off for just painting the 5 doors, and he said it would be $100 to knock off for just painting the doors. So I didn't know how you wanted to address, because we didn't know who was painting.
Okay, Dayton doesn't want to paint the awning?
He said he
Well, he said it would be time consuming because you have to scrape it and the oxidation and everything to get the paint to adhere.
Let's just do the 5 doors and take the awning off, and I'll get it painted.
You can have somebody power wash,
That paint off.
Yeah.
well, they, just power wash in general. You do the doors and you do the awning, anything you want to paint.
Right.
That'll help tremendously on prepping it for a painter, or maybe a little bit that they have scraped, not much.
And I think we talked about power washing first, but then again, I didn't have a quote or know who was
I-
in charge of paint, so I didn't want to.
We can power wash it.
Okay.
You
And
get
so
it down, just have them get it down.
Like the power washing I'm doing too.
Yeah, but it's painting it, it's when you get up there. it's
Reaching
just
up over.
Reaching up and hanging on to that thing, it's a weird, it'll be easier to power wash it, I agree with you, and scrape it down on the ground, and prime it and paint it,
Yes.
and then do it right and get it up.
So you'll handle the paint, or
You can
your
buy the
people?
paint, but I'll do the labor.
Gotcha. Okay, so if that's the case, for all of that, he quoted $595. And then stapled to that is another quote that Ron had him get, about installing 2 baseboard heaters in the restrooms, because the heat, there's the vents in there, but the heat just doesn't come up through there. So that's in the bathrooms.
I was asked because some people were freezing in there to get a quote.
But, I mean,
Shouldn't be in there.
But if we got vents and there's nothing coming out, I'm like,
Well, apparently
the ductwork
yeah, the ductwork's not big.
The
Right.
women's is never, because of the runs of the basement, the women's is never, it's got the longest run, it's never been, like in your house, it just doesn't
Yeah.
heat it up properly. I mean, you can change all the.
well, during the winter,
I always
when it
thought the men's
was
was a-
negative 50 degrees, we had to prop the doors open because we were afraid of pipes freezing in there. Personally, we're going into summer. I think we should address this issue more come September, October, because we're getting into the hotter months, so the sun will heat.
Why don't we get
The
our doors
bathrooms?
and awnings painted, do that.
Well,
So yeah, I think the baseboard should.
and are you sure that the ductwork is complete down there, Ron? And that's the whole issue, that it's just a longer,
Look complete to me. you know, but-
I don't know.
I
but
think
know
I'll
I've
look
been here
at it,
in
but I
the
think
winter
it
and it's
is.
cold.
Huh?
And it's cold, and there is no air.
Yeah, when the air's on, doesn't blow.
Get a booster fan in the duct and it'll blow more air in.
We'll look at it, but I
That's
think,
cheap.
no, I think it goes over there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the summer's coming, so I think that I'm not worried. I think that can be benched until it starts getting colder again.
I got one.
But if you want to go forward with the painting and the awnings,
And while we're on that, building
Warms up, then it starts blowing,
Oh, that's
and
right.
when the heat goes off, it
check
cools down and
and
shuts off.
price out another awning.
And then in the
for our
summertime, you can switch it over
Yeah,
to cool when
yeah.
that air
And
comes off.
maybe
So
not
it's the
the
same
ones
thing.
we used before.
Within how much the water fountains. That thing hasn't worked for 5 or 6 years.
So,
I don't know if we need a new one or if it's the plumbing is messed up.
Had several people look at it, seems like it works for a little bit.
I'll take a look at it. I can't promise I'll, I can fix it, don't worry.
so an awning and
so did you want to move forward with Nate doing the doors and taking down the awnings and then giving them to Ron? Are you power washing too, or do you want Nate to do that?
It doesn't matter.
do
You
we
can
have
do-
a power with?
If he's power washing the doors around, he might as well lay them on the ground and power wash them while he's there. It'll take him 10 extra minutes.
Okay, I'll just ask
You
him.
know, then I'll grab them and buff them. and clean
You guys
them up.
can work together on
Yeah,
timing.
we'll work together.
Yep, no worries.
You're gonna keep the same color?
Yeah. You guys matches the colors. Somebody's got an idea on the color, just,
I don't know, that was just.
Is he painting the inside of the doors or the outside of the doors?
The last time.
yeah.
Well, because the outside, he's grabbing the gray, that's the trim and the inside. So maybe you need to talk to him about that. 'Cause I don't think that's the color you want for your outside doors.
I told him once the color.
I
Okay.
thought we did that color because of the historic value of keeping it in line with the colors of the building.
We don't want to change them, do we?
Yeah.
Right, just cleaned up.
Clean up with paint.
Okay.
So we make a motion to have Nate paint the doors, take the awnings off, power wash those, and take the awnings off,
Okay.
She needs to reinstall that.
and reinstall.
Yeah, his thing is to remove and install the awnings. This one.
How much is all
$595 is what, I don't know if power washing is included in that.
It's done $595. Then the inside part, and the outside.
Second.
The motion made properly seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
All right,
Motion carries.
Next. Okay, so, our camera in the hallway went out, so they were in here replacing that. And I was concerned because, so in our security system, we have a screen for 4 cameras, but we only have 3 cameras. And when you look, this is a blind spot. There's absolutely no access or visibility to over here. So I had asked them why they were in here, just to go ahead and give me a quote of adding a 4th camera, since we have the spot on our screen, to put in, like back here in the corner, so that we have full visibility over here as well. So for camera material and labor, it would be $232.46 to get that 4th camera. So literally, it's just materials in the camera then to put it in, so that we're actually then able to see all aspects of the building.
Yeah, this is a big blind spot.
And then on the screen also, because of that camera, you guys look like a bunch of little mice. And like when Nate was in here working earlier, Tammy and I were looking at the monitor, and so when Nate was over here, he just looked like a guy wearing a jacket and jeans.
Something bob up and down, and I wasn't
You-
quite sure
yeah.
somebody was in here, but.
So if there was never an incident and we needed really facial recognition, we really wouldn't have it facing this way.
so what age is this camera system? I'm guessing it's
Oh,
15 years old?
no. It came when my first term, so 7, maybe 6.
Yeah, we had multiple.
Yeah, that's what's still
It's halfway, pretty, 6, 7 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, the advancements that they're making in camera technology just in the past couple of years is just absolutely amazing.
I don't know, these are digital, do you know, cameras?
So they're on the computer and you can play mine.
Yeah, I mean, we can go back. I mean, there's been multiple times that I've had to go back and play the video, and I've never had any problem.
The only thing I thought we had got voice, audio, but when we had to go look up a situation, it was not on there. And he came out and looked, and he said that there was no audio because we have no speakers, no mics. And I thought that was the reason that we put it out here, was in case there was a problem.
Well, I don't know about that. I'll go back to, we could tie these mics and the cameras all together and have it available online on our website, sorted format where anybody can log into Town of Dayton's website and a few keystrokes, they can review whatever board minutes they wanted to review. I deal with a lot of school corporations, and they've got it set up that way. I
Did
don't
you
have a
realize how much that would cost? I mean, we're looking at mics that are, let alone gonna cost us $1,500, just think of how much it would cost to do that.
Well, to answer your question, no, I don't know what the cost is. Never checked into it.
That's my AC
And I don't have a problem with my camera in, but I know how much cameras have advanced, especially in the last couple of years.
That's the outside
You get,
temperature.
360
That's the
view,
water
and,
temperature.
they're like 1080 megapixels now.
Night vision.
Well, the one that you put up might be the modern version of it.
Well, I have no idea, maybe.
When we get the one up, so we got all rooms
I-
covered, and then we can.
Personally, I just don't feel like this is a place that needs 360 HD. We have meetings and people come in and pay their bills. I just think a $200 camera to have all access would do just fine.
Then complete it all.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if anything were to ever happen over here and we had a question, I mean, we don't have video. So it's,
Have you thought about incorporating all this together with, I think that's what Ashley was doing
Yeah.
before. It's combining the video with your audio, the meeting minutes, have it live streamed on our town website, which we should probably be doing because it'd be much more professional. I mean, as good as some of our, watchdog group are about posting the videos, that's not their responsibility. The town should be stepping forward to provide that transparency to the public it serves. And they could be combining all this together in one thing, security, surveillance,
Probably
and the town board meeting minutes.
Why don't we do the one camera and we've had a hard time getting costs on just the right kind, what area plan uses downtown, and maybe we get their whole system and see what they use. Because
does area plan stream?
Yeah.
Everything?
The commissioners do, the county commissioners. There are people down there that do it.
I mean, the news is usually there, but I don't see.
And I know some of your school corporations, who I deal with, stream also.
I mean, we can look in it, I just have a funny feeling. it's
Michelle, we
gonna
just
be-
spent $24,000 on the inside this last year. We're doing $500 in doors to tie it up, but you guys go spend another $10,000 and we got a road to do up there.
Yeah,
Better start saving our money.
I don't disagree, it'd be nice to have, figures and stuff, and, maybe do pieces at a time to.
Would it be cheaper just to hire somebody to stream live our videos, our meetings? Like have them come and set up a
Well, if you got
professional?
I don't know, I'm not into that technology, but it seems to me if you got camera heads and, computer systems, you've got a lot of the stuff that you need already.
I just have a funny feeling it's gonna be,
We can look into it.
I mean, we can get information, it's not gonna kill us to get information, but
Yeah, the biggest problem is gonna be the size of the files, because these meetings are like 4 hours, so it's gonna be into like 50 gig, and you have to have like somebody with like, I don't think your computer in there would handle the video for, just to edit this, if you need HD.
I can't even email one video
You have to see.
of audio.
You realize that you're already paying for probably over a terabyte a month through Office 365.
No.
These are
Maybe a dumbwaiter.
Make a motion to spend the $232 to get this camera to complete our surveillance of the town.
I second the motion. Motion made, properly seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And then the next invoice, so now that we're on the monthly attorney fees, I've asked Reed to send them monthly because Reed and I had talked about this before. He's given me suggestions. I don't feel like it's in the best interest of the town paying quarterly when we're paying hourly now, because we are already set to, we're on the track to go over budget of what our salary ordinance states, and we're already wiping out our appropriation accounts for professional services. So at June's meeting, I'm going to, well, Tammy, I'm gonna have to have Tammy provide you guys with a resolution to transfer funds, because right now we're on a track to overspend.
I think it's good to have a monthly bill so it's easier to keep up on and look at things.
Yeah. I've already had to split up between water, wastewater, and stormwater because the appropriation accounts were yelling at me, telling me that I was overspending. So I can't just pay out of professional, like general professional services anymore. So I don't know how we need to handle that as far, or how we handle, because we're gonna be going over what our salary ordinance states to pay you.
Talk to Retha. She'll have some suggestions.
That's our,
Well, you'd have to amend it if you want to pay it in this year, or you just pay next year.
pay what?
anything over the appropriated amount.
So we
I
could
just have to
choose to
wait.
pay you over 25,000 next year?
If it went over in this year, I could just wait until next year.
We ought to get it paid.
Or you have to amend it.
We ought to be more concerned on how much that total is in a year, because it looks to me like it's, the way we're going through and all these meetings and the church stuff and the builders and everything, it looks to me like we might have $50,000, $75,000 in a year.
Well, what I was talking with Tammy and Tyrone about earlier is, say just this week, we're gonna be paying you between $1,500 and $2,000 just on 2 meetings. And now we've just scheduled a 3rd meeting for May. So I know I've talked to other towns, and they have stated that they don't always have their attorney present. So that was another thing that we talked about, unless it's like a controversial that they know that's gonna be on the agenda. Because if our meetings are running 3-4 hours at a time, we're paying you $800 a meeting, and so we're on a track of paying you $4,000 for this.
When I was clerk, a lot of times, 20% of the time, Bumbleberg didn't show up when you had meetings, but you need to be there on the important things.
Right.
We're talking church and all that. One suggestion, I think, when you can't be here, and whoever you had that one time come in,
Shannon.
he really didn't know anything, he didn't answer any question, and it cost us $760. I just assume if you can't be here, we don't have anybody here. And that part would save it, and you probably don't care, you're just supplying the service, so. That's one, I don't know what you guys are like, but. Because it's always that step-in person, even under Bumbleberg, when it's 3rd in line, they really didn't know, the lady didn't really know how to answer some of the questions and stuff.
Right.
The head guy, you.
Yeah, it's completely up to you guys on whether you want me to be here or not.
I probably won't be here if you're not.
I won't either.
Well, you need to be here, unless it's just,
Yeah,
but, I mean, because you're always going to probably have to answer something, but at least not the other attorney that fills in for you, because he really doesn't know a lot what's going on.
No, we just need to, I just wanted to make sure that you guys are all aware that we're gonna have to transfer money and
sure.
Should we make a
Be
motion
over.
for that?
I'll have the resolution for Tammy to give you guys at June's meeting to transfer the money. But so, yeah, just, a motion to pay this invoice for 2,000.
I'll make the motion to pay the invoice for 2,000.
Second?
The motion been properly seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So I think the last thing for me is, it was, Scott and I talked about this, you have a copy of our ordinance 30.02, fees pertaining to documents. So in our ordinance, it states that we charge 25 cents per order plus 10 cents per page for, document fees. Personally, I've not had any large requests, an agenda here or there, or minutes here or there, so I've not charged any. Scott did have a request that somebody wanted 5 years worth of reports that took over an hour of his time, so we were inquiring if, so that person was only paying $6 for an hour of his time off the streets, and 53 pages worth of documents. So we were trying to look in to see if, Tammy and I talked, that if she wasn't sure if the State Board of Accounts is what set that documentation fee. I put a call into Todd Codwell. He was busy doing a seminar today, so he's just not got back to me. I don't know if anybody has any information of how we came up with this fee, if that's.
I thought it was the State Board of Accounts that set the fee that couldn't charge more than a certain amount, I don't know.
It might be state statute, actually.
Well, maybe that.
And, yeah, and we don't have in our ordinance, but I know it's in the statute that if you email things, there's no charge.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, we just put it in here to look in, to see exactly who made the rules, or if it was the town, so that we know exactly why we're charging what we're charging. And I just put it in there last week when I did the packets before I did the investigating, just so it was in there so people can look over it. So we'll just look into it more and get more knowledge on it. And then other than that, I think that's it for me.
TIF district. More legal fees. Yeah, so to create the allocation area, need firm with bond with the has-done council, that's what has done, so I have looked into that. So Ice Miller is one of the firms that regularly does this work, and I have a personal contact with the attorney there went to law school with her, and she would be able to handle the work directly. So it's not, new work, but it's at their rates instead of mine. So what she gave me was just a pretty broad range, but it was $5,000 to $15,000. But that would largely, the reason was a big range was largely depending on if she would need to come to any of the meetings. I don't think that she would. We basically need to have them do the legal documents. It's going to be more cost now, but if we do need bond counsel for a project down the line, it's going to be much better to have them involved. Also, if anything needs to be amended with the area of the district, it's going to be better to have them. And from what I looked into, Ice Miller has done the TIF district for Tippecanoe County. They've done district for Lafayette. They've done bond work for Tippecanoe County. Like, it's just, it's a necessary part of it. So I do recommend, based on what I've done, to go ahead and move forward with this.
Reed, I thought Humboldt was going to do the tip, all that legal work and everything in their $15,000 thing. So why are now, what's?
Yeah, so I was always going to have to do the legal work because they're not a legal firm, they're just an accounting firm. So they still do the majority of the work. But like the first step of doing the declaratory resolution, we have to create the redevelopment commission and just some of those things that I was talking to Jason about, and now that I've talked to Heather, like she's clarified, like there's just a legal component that would have been me. And I could, it's not that I can't do anything or that other attorneys can't, but if anything went wrong, we wouldn't have the protection that that firm provides with that bond counsel.
What I'm concerned about is when some of us demanded a special meeting to have Humboldt give us a report, what they could do and couldn't do, what it cost. As we go along, this seems like a big hidden cost here. It's $15,000 for them, and now it's another $15,000, probably 5 to 15. It'll probably be closer to 10 to 15, or who knows? Because I remember when the town had them work before, of course, it was more than what we quoted, it seemed like. And now, you're right, those two alone, you're looking at 30,000. And then you're gonna have a lot extra going into it, all these, when I see these reports, these extra meetings, with them or the church or whatever, that'll be more money. I wish we had one whole big square of what it's gonna cost and what we're getting in taxes and everything, and, sort of so we had a little more information.
Well, I was wrong on this. I mean, I'm, correcting myself, but I can't do it all. We knew that we were gonna have my cost at my hourly rate, so nothing has changed in what is involved. It's just that the same, instead of me doing a certain part of it, it will be at a higher rate. So it's,
I guess I never heard this extra charge that much, I guess. Because I thought Humboldt was going to do most of it, you were going to do, just sort of look at their work, be sure it's all legally right.
There's just certain documents that they can't draft, and there's going to be the creation of a redevelopment commission. Like that has to be represented by council. There's gonna be formation documents for that, like none of that was gonna be done by Humboldt. They do all of the financial analysis part of it, and they deal with the taxes, and, you know, that's.
So what will that cost? I mean, you said, what will the TIP district cost to set it up? Will it be another 30,000 or another 5,000 or another 50,000?
It'll be the total of what Humboldt has said, which was 15,
Okay.
plus whatever it is
She says.
for my fees, plus whatever it is for X Miller, for the legal and the professional, so probably somewhere around 25 to 30 for the whole thing between legal and,
Between her, Ice Miller, and you, 25 to 30 probably.
25 to 30 for all three of us, yeah.
You're setting up a,
Well, Humboldt, well, wait, Humboldt's, okay, Humboldt, clarify, Humboldt's already 15, she's 5 to 15, and then you're saying you would be another 5 or so? Okay, not that much.
Yeah.
and you also, if and when you go up to bond,
Right.
that's where, having the expertise of somebody like Ice Miller's gonna.
I don't mind that, it's just when we sit here and you have a meeting for the public to decide if we even want to do the project, I'd sort of like to know all the costs. We always do this, we
We
come out here and
asked all the
slap it down
costs.
here, and
Yeah.
then we add this on and add this on, and add this on, and add this on. And I think that's a little unfair. You know, we talked about it 15 minutes here, we finally got them to come out and break down that presentation because some of us griped, but we need to at least know what was going on.
That's true.
I think you need to present the whole entire package that you know, basically, when you're presenting this to the townspeople, decided they want to do something. I've had a lot of people saying they're not sure if we do want to do this. I think that's, we decided for the townspeople so far. I don't think they've really had a lot of input on it. Maybe they want to do it, maybe they don't, but we better have wreath and stuff, we better see where our monies are going. We've lost, you know,
I've
our
already
old
told you
clerk
where we're at
cost
with
us
professional
30,000
fees.
plus 30,000 in penalties. We gotta start coming up with this money somewhere.
Moving on, do we need to make a motion for that, or what's?
Yeah, so I don't have a fee agreement from her yet, so really if you could just approve for the president, the town council president to execute that
Make a motion,
upon my review.
make a motion that town council president be able to enter into agreement with Ice Miller.
Motion made and properly seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carries. Anything else, town attorney?
No.
Police report.
Any questions on the activity report for last month? Directly? Activity was greatly increased last month in a lot of categories. Very busy, it was department-wide. Our injured officer is still recuperating. He told us it's probably gonna be another month. If everything goes smooth this next month in his physical therapy, then he'll be allowed to go back to work. So the reason I bring that up and keep you guys updated is he is on workman's comp, he's a part-time employee, and we are paying him for his hours. Our insurance company is paying him for his hours that he would have been working for us had he been not injured. So that's his status. I have a conference request for myself and Officer Kanagi for June 21st and 22nd. That's our annual Indiana Marshals Association conference, which we get a good share of our training at, our state mandated training in many different categories. The cost of that is $150. Officer Kanagi goes because he, unlike all the other officers, doesn't work for a full-time police department. Other than us, he derives all his police powers from us for the town of Dayton. So we make sure he gets the state mandated training that he needs each year. All the rest of the officers, because they're full-time, get their training from their individual departments. He also gets a lot of other training up and beyond this from his Department of Community Corrections, but these are law enforcement specific. Each officer has to have by law and state in here, so.
Make a motion to allow, pay for you to go to your training.
Second. Been a motion made and properly seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Another update, I had some kind of bad news. I applied for a grant for 2 radar speed signs. My plans were to have them posted on 38. I believe that'd be a good benefit to our town. So I applied for a grant through Subaru for now approximately $9,000 for those 2 signs, and that was declined this go around, but I can't apply for it in the future. So I know I'm always up here asking for money, or it seems like that, but I am trying to research grants to do some positive things for the town of Dayton. So I'm planning to apply for that for the next cycle that go around. Next item on my list, we have some properties that are going to need abatement for mowing or being nuisance properties. How do we want to handle that? And in the past year, the board directed me to hire DC Lawn Care by Dave Crandall to take care of those properties. How do we want to proceed with that this year? I have probably a couple that are coming up pretty soon that I've sent notice to.
I've had 2 other companies also express interest in helping us with those.
How do you guys want me to proceed with that?
Call somebody. You know, we have a process where we can, actually attach the bill to the property from the lien.
Correct, we can do it, and that's what we've done in the past after.
In the past,
I tell them to mow it, then they submit a bill, and then they attach a weed lien through the county, through their property, to recoup that money.
So
And we have been somewhat successful, I think, in recouping some of that money.
I don't know if a lien was ever placed for the mowing, I just know that we've always paid him. I don't know if a lien.
No, I don't mean paying the contractor, I mean recouping some of those funds after somebody does eventually. These are generally abandoned properties.
Right.
Or they're owned by a mortgage company or a bank, so.
Probably.
I don't think we've had anything this year to actually do.
No, we have not had any liens this year,
And I don't
but I
think
think,
we would have been.
I can double check, but I've never heard about that.
Yeah.
For the mowing, a lien put, I've just always known that we've paid Dave. I don't know if there was ever a lien placed. We've just always paid him.
regardless.
No, it didn't.
We had to reverse.
No, I was only when she was.
Yeah, I believe that we've been reimbursed for all the mowing that we did last year.
I've never heard.
When that property finally sold, or the downside of that is sometimes there's an outlay before a time period before we do get a reimbursement.
I think we allow you to choose whoever to mow and attach a lien to the property or.
I'd like some kind of system.
Right. If
If we decide.
if you have 3 people who want to do the mowing, each time you call up a different one, just go around in a circle. Dave Crandall one, the next guy one, the next guy, that way. Otherwise, you have to bid them all out, you don't want to do that on little.
Well, can you guys provide me with the list of who you want me to use? Do you want me to seek permission from the council as a whole, a council member, a department liaison, before I proceed with that, or just get it done?
Are we gonna send them a letter saying, hey, you're gonna be put on the rotation for mowing for the town of Dayton?
You give them warning beforehand, right? Or
Oh,
notify them?
definitely, yeah.
Well, then,
Yeah, there's plenty of aforementioned, they know it's coming.
Not the.
A lot of the property though, there's nobody to get a hold of.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, we got a property down here, a gentleman passed away last fall,
and it's still in his name. So, you know,
Yeah, then this, in the,
I generally like to give warning, then I'll give a citation with some kind of penalty to it. And that generally encourages 90% of the people who are residents to take care of the property. These are generally the bank-owned type things.
and
So
just let me or Tammy know that you're gonna have it mowed.
If you wanna make a rotation list like you do with your records, so to speak, and he can give you the names of the other two that he have, and you can check with them, make sure they're all in line to do this, and
Correct.
you just rotate them how you,
Dave Crandall's, he asked me tonight if we were still doing that, so I know he's noticed it. You got two more? Well, I can get you and get those names. So just keep the liaisons informed of what we got. Last thing I had was last month, we had a discussion, some residents expressed concern about the need for noise ordinance, and the council directed me to look into that. I researched 4 area towns and their noise ordinances. Tammy Nice and I met and went through those
They all
went through those 4 ordinances from those towns, kind of picked through each of those and came up with the current rough draft that you're seeing now. And that's, all it is a rough draft of the best points of all of those ordinances that we looked at. Tried to keep it somewhat simple. In this, the times can be tweaked one way or another, but I think it's an example of an ordinance that could benefit the town. This is just a tool, as all our other ordinances are, for police to use. After I did post this on my Facebook site, so we could get some feedback from some of the citizens. I read some of the feedback on some of the other sites that were shared with. A lot of people, whenever they see a new ordinance, they're thinking, all right, well, the police are out there to generate more funds for the town, and they're gonna be out to get us. For 99.9% of the people, they will never know this noise ordinance exists. This is basically just something that we could use in those rare circumstances where there is a problem. This, as all ordinances are, it is purely discretionary on the part of the police on whether we choose to and how we choose to enforce it. Just like all of our other ordinances, we obviously go through a progression where we try to get them to resolve the issue by issuing a warning or talking amongst themselves, trying to get things worked out. Issuing a ticket is generally a last resort. A lot of people are concerned, well, my Harley's going to get cited now, or my loud Mustang, or something like that. We are not going to be targeting people should we pass a noise ordinance for things like that. We're not going to be sitting on the highway waiting for a boombox to go down the road or somebody jamming in their car. That's not what we're after. The focus of this, if we had one, would be on those rare circumstances where somebody is having a party at 1 a.m. in the morning, and it's the middle of a work week, and they've been asked to turn it down several times and they refuse. This would be a tool that we could use and implement before resorting to a criminal statute like this one. So, just put it out there, you guys to discuss, look at, talk.
Is there any suggestions, tweaks to this?
I don't have any. That's what me and Tammy looked at, came up, and
Well, I mean, based on your comments from the Facebook sites or whatever.
there were some people concerned about the hours,
Hours.
the quiet hours, so to speak, where machinery could be used versus just the general quiet hours. Some people thought 7 a.m. was too late, or 6 a.m. was too late, early in the morning to prohibit
people using machinery.
11 to 7 is basically the state parks, is 11, quiet time, 7 to
Looks good.
So do you guys want to, vote on this or make amendments?
I would suggest you
And
take
table it?
some comments from the residents before you look at it.
Thank you.
Maybe they'll have some residents at the end of the meeting.
That's all I have for this meeting. Any more questions from me?
We'll just take comments at the end, we're not gonna vote on that. Next thing will be miscellaneous new and old business.
Are you taking comments?
Oh, we're gonna do it at the end, because we're not gonna comments for everything. Buzio Amendment 96, from the area plan, it's the banning of large wind energy conversion systems. This is, basically, they're putting a ban on windmills that are over 140 foot tall, because the new ones are around 600 feet tall, and their setbacks are so big that there's not areas in Tippecanoe County where they can actually place them now without them being very loud, like even up to a couple miles away at this size. So you can still use regular size ones, but the ones that are 600 feet, the new ones, they are banned in all of Tippecanoe County. And it's basically a setback thing, because they were saying there's really not anywhere that would fit in the criteria. I feel like there's probably somewhere, but
They were saying that it inhibit building and subdivisions and stuff under them is what it would, because the setbacks are so far that you couldn't do a lot of
yeah.
developing of the land. We're up to Fowler and stuff, they're just farmers, they're not going to develop right now, so.
Yeah, the noise, they were bringing the noise up to like a couple miles away, and they're still like 56 decibels, so like people in the house, it was, if you have those really big 600-foot ones there, they're loud. But that's just a amendment for the whole county, it's not a Dayton thing, it's if Dayton chooses to be a part of the unified area plan commission.
So would this have an ordinance number?
2019-4.
I make a motion we adopt, use amendment number 96, which is our ordinance number 2019-4.
Second.
It's been a motion made and probably seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Anyone else with new and old business?
When are we going to do Shady Lane?
We gonna do it? We can do it with this. Any old business? Go ahead. There's only utility we got.
What I'm curious about is, what is our next step on Shady Lane? I went down and put gravel, dug out everything, 18 inches, put gravel, 2 kinds along the, had Tammy, Tyrone, Mark all looked at this. Where we were talking about widening what we voted on, widening the street 4 foot and put crushed stone or asphalt at some time, and did the inside of the curves and everything, but what is our plans now? Are we going to just asphalt the existing road, use the gravel for like strips along regular roads? Are we going to widen the whole thing, and where is it on the agenda? You're the one that objects, so you tell me.
As far as asphalt work, we discussed 2 meetings ago, and a little bit on the last meeting, doing the asphalt work under our community crossroads grant.
And will that, the residents down Dayton, or down Shady Lane want to do what's there right now, and they don't want to be engineers, I don't know, I'm asking this, they don't want engineers coming in and distorting anything, moving the corners out, because they already proposed, their main concern was the visibility and the width of the road, and their 3 proposals was do nothing or just barrel a new road through our fields. It was not correcting the situation of widening the road, existing road, and taking down the trees. So we've done that now. We've taken the trees down, and we've added the gravel. And is it gonna be next on the list? I just don't wanna get these engineers in and have them distort that road or do anything differently. Can't we just get estimates and have the people come in, and it could be community crossroads, and just say asphalt what's there? You know, on top of the width of the road, or on top of the road and the gravel. Like we used to do for the last 20 years. We decide what road we want, just come in and give us an estimate.
I wasn't aware we were starting it, so.
Well, we left that meeting as, everybody here has listened to it 10 times. Cut the trees down, and I said I would put the gravel in. You said, I hope that I don't want a muddy mess. I said, I'll do it right. And then it's on your minutes there that when we left that meeting, everybody knew I was gonna put that gravel in there, Mike.
I disagree with you, Ron. When I voted, you know, I think some of the other board members, they can speak up if they'd like.
Well, it's done.
We
Actually,
we
it's-
voted to cut down trees only and not do the gravel yet because.
You didn't vote not to do the gravel.
No.
Ask everybody out there. You guys left it, read those minutes, you left it, that I said the last thing, and Mark even said to me, what kind of gravel was the last sentence on the thing. We left it as, I was gonna do that gravel, and you guys could, Tammy kept asking me, you could asphalt it later if you wanted to. Then I get down there and do the lane, and Ashley, you're texting everybody, and then sending the state police after me and all this crap, you know?
Well, I'll find the text from.
And you guys go down there on
When you
Ohio
vote.
Street and put gravel in without any okay or anything, just spread it in yourself.
I'll find the minutes there eventually, but, you know, on tape.
Well, I'll show you.
I listened to the tape, and my vote was to cut down the trees. You know, Mike, you know, coming off of Mike's comments about gravel making a mess and such, but you know what, the gravel's down there now, okay? The question is, when are you gonna get asphalt on it? That's what you're asking. You know, this board can do whatever they wanna do, but my recommendation would be to include it in the next community crossroads right now.
That's how I,
And I thought that's what we voted
If
on.
y'all wanna do
Yeah,
something
I was
different,
pretty sure that
Because
that's
they're
what.
probably gonna have to pull off that top layer anyway, right?
Yeah.
Because it's very
Cut it
bad.
oh, yeah.
Okay.
Can we have, when we do we have to have it engineered? Or do we just, can we just get it appraised?
It's substandard now, it'll be substandard when we're done, you know, so as far as having the engineer, I don't know what you want an engineer to do at this
I
point in
don't want
time,
him to
so.
do anything.
Okay.
I just want to get a bid. I don't want an
Dump-
engineer
dump
to screw
asphalt
it
on
up,
it.
so.
Yeah, dump asphalt.
When's the next community crossroads, Brenda?
July.
Okay.
So we'll make sure that that's.
Yeah, one of the roads that, okay.
Because it is the most, that's number 3 on your list.
Part of Shane Lane is number 3, yes.
Yes, all right. Comments from the residents?
I just came up to thank the town for supporting Redbird for the last year. Our 1-year anniversary was April 30th, on this Thursday at 10:30 in the morning to Greater Lafayette Chamber of Commerce. Is coming out and going to be doing a ribbon cutting ceremony at Redbird to celebrate our milestone of 1 year and to also welcome the new murals that the Tippecanoe Arts Federation paid for on our building. So that's going on Thursday morning at 10:30. Everyone is welcome to attend that. And then also on Friday at 1 o'clock, the artist who did the murals is holding a little art class in the nest. And anybody who wants to attend, she will teach them how to draw a redbird. I just wanted to invite everybody to that.
It looks great up there.
Thank you.
It is.
Congratulations.
Any more?
Congratulations to Redbird.
I just, real quickly, because I know the noise ordinance people want to talk and it's really late, but I just want to say I'm really, really disappointed in this TIF district thing. I specifically asked Jason when he was here, what the other costs were, because the negatives that I had read about it was that most of your funds from your TIF districts goes to the accountants and the lawyers and the various professionals that do it. And it's, oh no, it's $15,000, and now we're gonna find out it's not $15,000, it'll probably be at least twice that. And we were really misled.
Any more comments from residents?
Jenny Clark, 617 Harrison Circle, and I just have a few questions about the noise ordinance. My understanding by reading it, I don't know if I need to direct this to Marshall or whatever, so the noise restrictions are between the hours of 11 PM and 7 AM as it stands now. So anything like outside of those hours, as far as loud mufflers or something like that, as long as it's not something illegal, would not be in violation of that ordinance.
We're not gonna sit around and target loud mufflers. I mean, everything is based on a case-by-case basis and a situation-by-situation. You would have to give me a specific answer for you to tell me if it's gonna be a violation. Okay?
If a vehicle.
Let's say, for instance, your husband had a Harley and he drives it home at 10:30 and the neighbor just happens not to like that. He drives it in, parks it, goes in, I don't care.
That
If he-
wasn't my
But if he sits in his drive and it's 12:30 and he rents it for an hour, something we might have to look at.
My question was, if there were a vehicle with a loud muffler outside of those hours, and someone complained about it, would that be in violation of this new ordinance that is proposed?
If it's deemed a nuisance and it's audible for more than 50 feet, it could be.
So you're talking about like somebody like pulled up, they're like either car outside running, it's by your window, it's just rumbling.
So like,
idling.
our family, for instance, we drag race, and so, we have to start the car, back it out of the garage, and drive it onto the trailer. So my question was, if we are outside of the hours of 11 PM and 7 AM, is that particular instance in violation of this ordinance? Or would it only be if we were doing that between the hours of 11 PM and 7 AM?
There is a provision in this ordinance for noises at any time that are deemed a nuisance audible for more than 50 feet. So it could be, but that's purely discretionary on the.
You're saying you come home late from the racetrack? or-
No, I mean, whenever we leave, we have to start the car, back it out, load it on the trailer.
And it's
It's
like
loud,
10 to 15 seconds.
It's like
probably longer than that, but
Our
But you're not-
cul-de-sac, John puts his drag race or whatever, he pulls it out of the garage and you can hear it rumbles your windows all around, and then he backs it into that trailer and boom, boom, it's probably 15 minutes or so.
we don't drive it around the block, we don't make test passes in front of the house, we simply pull it out of the garage, load it onto the trailer, as opposed to having to push it. I mean, the car weighs 3,500 pounds, that's without someone in it steering it.
I think we have a lot of drag racers in town, because my neighbor, he's constantly working on his, early in the morning, revving the motor, driving it around the block.
We don't
So I
really
think-
do anything like that. If he
Right,
has to
but-
make any adjustments and he has to actually start it, I mean, that never lasts more than a minute to a minute and a half. My question is, are we in violation of the ordinance any time of day, or was it just that specific 11 PM to 7 AM?
It's any time of the day, but again, it's discretionary.
I don't think I like that answer. I would kind of
Well,
like
let
the
me-
more
let me-
black
let me-
and white.
Let me
No,
extrapolate a little bit further, okay? I've been here 4 years now. I've never had a single complaint on your house. And I do have a law that I can enforce upon that right now called the disorderly conduct statute. So, like I said last meeting, we already have a law in existence that can cover disorderly conduct or noises that are loud, and if they've been told to cease the noise and they don't stop, you could be cited. That's why we have discretionary laws where officers use some common sense on a case-by-case basis. So You know, I haven't had a problem in 4 years, I didn't even know that, I've never heard you guys start that, your rate started now.
Well, we're pretty considerate of our neighbors, like I said, it usually only happens for a short period of time, so. And I think that they're aware of that. We just wanted to be in compliance with the ordinance, so that's why I was wanting to get some clarification. If it was any time of day or just during those.
I think you're good. I mean, it's more like if you were out there, you started it, and you left your car out there for a half an hour, and your neighbor found, because
Well, we can't do that because then you have the issue of overheating. I mean, it's not a car to be driven
If
on
you're
the
just
street,
dumping it,
so.
I mean, I don't, by the time he would take the call, be able to.
And that was my next
Either
question.
turn it off.
So if John Smith, 3 doors down, hears a loud car, knows we have one and just assumes it's us, how are you enforcing that if you didn't specifically see or hear it yourself?
Typically, we want to hear it ourselves before we would.
So
Take
a
any
call would
kind
have
of
to be
action.
made to reach contact with you, and you would have to be there
We would have to come over
and catch someone in the
and
act, so to
listen.
speak.
Right.
But if you saw us loading it up, we probably,
I mean, you could use common
My
sense.
thought would be, it's getting loaded up, it's heading out of town. Problem solved.
Okay. We just wanted to be compliant with the ordinance, so that was my main question.
I mean, I know her concern, okay? I can tell her this till I'm blue in the face, but the next marshal or one of my other guys could say, you know, I really don't like you. As soon as it starts up.
And that was my
I'm
concern.
a half mile away, I heard it. I'm gonna write
There
down
have been
right
some
on the ticket.
issues in the past
That
that
is a
kind of feel like
possibility.
there's a personal prejudice sometimes, and so that was my real concern, that we should have a fluidity of how we're going to give the warnings and the citations, really for any ordinance in town, not just this noise ordinance. Is there a certain standard that he is held to as far as a warning is given, and then if so much amount of time goes by and someone isn't compliant, then do we issue a citation, and like, how are we tracing and having accountability as far as that goes?
It's always officer discretion.
Okay, so there is no set
It kind of depends
process.
what it is though, like yards and stuff, like certain kind of ordinance violations, like trash can yards, I think you might get a warning, at least for trash, you get a warning, I mean,
Somebody-
garage.
If somebody's a drunk driver, he's gonna act accordingly. For a loud noise like that, he will act accordingly. And
Well, I'm even talking about the, grass being too tall, like the nuisance, or like the trash can. So say if we had a warning 6 months ago about our trash can left at the road too long, then if that happens again, like another instance, then since we've had a warning in the past, do we automatically get a citation, or is that a new warning for that specific instance, the next instance?
If I get repeated violations, eventually I have to issue a citation. But
So
I
we
think
would not
for-
necessarily have a warning on a second offense? That would be up to your discretion. So, I mean, is that something that you guys feel comfortable with, or do you think each new instance deserves a warning?
Like something like the garbage, it's gonna happen, it's like once a week, so it's usually.
I'll give you a specific. So we were given, I believe, a warning one time because the bumper of our van wasn't completely obstructing the sidewalk, but it was kind of past the line of the driveway, so we were issued a warning for that. And then a second instance, our son had gotten a remote control vehicle for Christmas, and he had made a ramp out of wood and left it on the sidewalk for several days. And we were just issued a citation for that instance. And we were cited, basically it fell under the same obstruction of the sidewalk. I felt maybe that was 2 different situations, since one was a vehicle as opposed to something else, but he didn't feel the same way, so that's my question. Are we still leaving it up to his
I
discretion, or?
would think that if you have the continuing offenses, that big obstruction of the sidewalk, then you would be entitled to a
Okay.
citation.
And that's just what I wanted to make clear, and that you guys are okay with that.
Because I would think that you would learn from the first time.
Well,
and the
when you have an
second time.
8-year-old that leaves something outside and, that's a little different.
It's in front of your house.
It is, correct, and that's not even, I'm not even disputing that, it's in the past and the citation was paid, so. I just didn't know if we wanted some fluidity and accountability as far as, prejudice towards residents and not giving proper warnings when potentially maybe there should be something. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments from residents? No, just the portion cup.
I don't know, I wanted to ask Scott something. I like this draft so far. Oh, here you go, for first offense, $25, second, 50th, third, 100. On the mowing and the yard cleanup and everything, we made that ordinance several years ago. It has no fee schedule at all. It's up to your discretion up to $500, even the first time. That's still a rush.
Yep.
It seems to me like we ought to have, if this has got a schedule on it, we ought to have a schedule on the other one too. So that, like you said, if a policeman, that next guy in line comes in and gives a citation, doesn't like to serve the person, they want to slap $500. Yeah. Not worried about that. I'm talking about maybe one of the deputies or somebody else. But you got it here, so we're not having, something we might look at.
Well, I can give you an example. One reason why I haven't pushed for it on there is because the nuisance ordinance, the yard ordinance, encompasses every property in town. So I don't think it's fair to charge a Circle K the same fine for repeated violations I would someone who has a small residence in town. And like in those cases of larger corporations, typically I'm dealing with somebody in California who owns that property. And I've spent, say I gave 4 citations to that property owner in 2018. I don't really think there's a need to jump through all those warnings and me tracking them down and trying to get some corporate businessman on the phone. So I just start in with a large citation to begin with, to get their attention and get it cleaned up. I'm talking about a trash ordinance now, but the nuisance yard is coming into play also. Because the main goal of me is to try to get the property cleaned up, and if it takes all summer communicating with warnings and small amounts of fines where they finally get, well, as far as it is now, I'm gonna go ahead and pay to get this cleaned up. So that's the reason for that mentality, but as far as I'm concerned, fines are a preview of the council, and whatever they think is fair is what I'll enforce. It's not a money-making venture for the police department or the town, in my opinion. We just want to get the properties enforced properly.
Ashley, you want to- I just got a question. The movie night, I seen them. Did you say the first one was in September?
No, it's a Saturday.
This side?
We got the screen ordered, Tyrone has that, and we're set to be on the back of the ABC building.
And I talked with Brand, and he said that's fine. And Tyrone, does that have to be hooked up on the building?
Well,
I said it might have to be.
here's what I figured out, because that screen is massive, it's a 25-foot. I looked, you can make these PVC rigs for it, but that building is metal, and I went and checked the magnet. I ordered 40-pound magnet hooks, because it has eyelets on the screen, so we can just use the hooks, then we can put all that together, and when somebody else wants to set up a movie screen, they can just take those magnets and put them up there and just latch them in. And the screen weighs probably about between 20 and 25 pounds total, so I figure if we have, I think I ordered 24 40-pound magnet string, so we'll just go pull tight, put it up there. It's the easiest thing. I didn't think it was, I thought it was aluminum, but it's metal. I took magnets to make sure, because I was like, I don't want to buy all these magnets, but it's not.
We've got electricity out, a hole on the end that comes out, he said we could hook
Oh,
that up.
I mean,
So we don't have to run it to gazebo or anything. He liked the idea.
I have water and popcorn.
Yes, and Dayton Mothers Club has given us $500 to sponsor movie night, and then BFNS has given us $300 to help pay for the Kona Ice Truck. So as far as we see it now, we think that there won't have to be any cost for anything. We're going to double check. I went to Sam's and took pictures of everything to see what the quantity is. Cindy has already gotten the popcorn bags. Tammy has gotten the popcorn in 2 cases of water. So I mean, I think ultimately there won't have to be, I think what we're gonna do is get like raffle tickets.
Popcorn machines.
Yeah, we, are renting it from, Midwest, yeah.
That'll be the scaffolding, the professional scaffolding, the whole projector, all that to sit down.
Yeah, we're gonna get, raffle tickets and then hand those out so many to or each family so that people aren't going up and getting multiples, so that, you know, everybody gets a chance to, get something, so. And it's supposed to be 84, sunny, no rain, knock on wood.
Don't forget the trash cans.
Yes, we're gonna get them from the,
Okay.
There'll
be popcorn bags everywhere if you don't.
yeah, our barn. We're gonna use all the extras that we have.
Yes, we got it. Dave gave us the sound, we got that, we got scaffolding, we got everything. So, plug in right, we're good. And then, if I had anything else to add, unless you did?
Traffic control, do we have traffic control?
We have a sign-up sheet online too, if people want to, sign up to volunteer. So that's live, people can sign right up. So, I think we're.
Motion to adjourn?
Trash cans. There'll be popcorn bags everywhere.
Oh, those are the ones I